August is almost here, bringing the absolute most intense, blistering heat of the entire summer directly to your backyard. Right now in mid-July, the biggest threat to your patio container garden is not a sudden pest invasion or a lack of fertilizer. Your ultimate challenge is keeping your sensitive root systems from literally cooking inside their pots and protecting your swelling, sugary fruit from every thirsty squirrel and wild bird in your neighborhood. Today, I am handing you the ultimate master blueprint for the 15 best high-yield dwarf fruit trees that are specifically preparing to ripen this August. We are going to cover exactly which USDA hardiness zones they thrive in, the specific container materials that guarantee their survival, and the critical July rescue tactics you must execute this week to secure a massive, flawless late summer harvest. Make sure you stick around until the very end, because the tree sitting at our #1 spot produces a massive, incredibly sweet fruit that will make your patio the envy of the entire neighborhood. Grab your watering can and let us get straight into the countdown. 15. Early Dwarf Pear. Starting our countdown at number 15 is a true botanical marvel, the early dwarf pear tree. If you are trying to cultivate a thriving orchard, but you are strictly limited to a tight apartment balcony or a narrow concrete patio in the city, this particular tree is going to completely revolutionize your growing space. Instead of pushing out wide, sprawling branches that will inevitably shade out all your other carefully placed potted plants, this specific genetic variety is programmed to grow straight up. It forms a stunning vertical green pillar, focusing absolutely all of its metabolic energy into producing heavy clusters of fruit that stay remarkably close to the central trunk. From a climate perspective, this tree is incredibly resilient and performs perfectly across USDA hardiness zones 4 through 9, making it a fantastic choice for gardeners experiencing the crisp autumns of the Pacific Northwest or the changing seasons of New England. Because this tree grows tall and carries a significant amount of weight, the absolute best container you can choose is a massive wooden half barrel. Wood acts as a phenomenal natural thermal barrier. During the blistering heat of a late July afternoon, when the summer sun is relentlessly beating down on your patio, a thin plastic pot will quickly transfer that lethal heat directly into the delicate root system. A thick wooden barrel acts as a thermal shield, keeping the soil and the root zone surprisingly cool and comfortable. Your most urgent, critical task right now in July is providing structural support. As the green pears rapidly swell and pack on heavy water weight this week, those vertical branches will become dangerously heavy. You must drive a few sturdy bamboo stakes deep into the soil today and gently tie the main leader to them to prevent the tree from violently snapping in half during a sudden summer thunderstorm. You should also take a moment to mix a small handful of potassium-rich organic fertilizer into the topsoil, which sends a direct chemical signal to the tree to maximize the internal sugar content before next month. When August finally arrives, pears are incredibly unique because they ripen from the inside out. If you leave them on the tree until they feel soft in your hand, the core will already be completely rotten and mushy. You must snap them off the branch while they are still firm and green, then bring them inside to soften slowly on your kitchen counter. Beyond their incredible taste, the skins of these pears are packed with powerful compounds called flavin-3-ols, which medical research shows actively help repair microscopic damage within human blood vessels. And if you have ever noticed that fresh pears have a slightly gritty texture when you bite into them, that is completely natural. The flesh is packed with microscopic clusters of woody plant cells known as stone cells, creating that iconic, satisfying crunch. 14. Columnar Apple. Next up at number 14 is the visually spectacular columnar apple tree. This plant creates a striking, living column of vibrant green foliage and crisp fruit that fits perfectly into the absolute narrowest corners of any patio design. You no longer need sweeping acres of farmland to harvest authentic American orchard-quality apples right at home. These apple trees fundamentally require cold winter temperatures to go completely dormant and set their fruit, making them the ultimate choice for USDA hardiness zones 4 through 8. They are an absolute staple for backyard gardeners in the chilly Northeast, the snowy Midwest, and the temperate zones of the Pacific Northwest. Because this particular tree builds a tall, wind-catching sail composed of dense leaves and heavy apples, providing structural stability at the base is your absolute #1 priority. You must plant this tree in an ultra-heavy 15-gallon container made of cast stone or incredibly thick concrete. This massive anchor weight ensures that a severe summer windstorm will not blow the towering tree over and violently smash your precious harvest across the hard concrete. Your primary July task involves strict pest patrol and highly careful light management. You need to spend a few quiet minutes this week gently turning over the leaves to inspect the undersides for destructive summer aphids, wiping them away entirely with a damp cloth if you spot any pests hiding there. Even more importantly, because the apples are growing so tightly clustered against the central vertical trunk, they can very easily cast dark shadows on each other. You must physically rotate the heavy concrete pot exactly 90 degrees every single week. This consistent weekly rotation ensures that every single apple gets its dedicated time in the direct, blinding summer sun, which guarantees they all develop a brilliant, uniform red color and a massive spike in sugar before August arrives. To harvest these beauties next month, simply cradle the heavy apple in the palm of your hand and give it a slight upward twist to snap the woody stem cleanly. Chopping these incredibly crisp, homegrown apples into a fresh summer walnut salad provides an absolutely unbeatable crunch for your dinner guests. You have probably noticed over the years that if you drop an apple into a bucket of water, it bobs right to the top immediately. That happens because the internal cellular structure of an apple is remarkably porous, and a full 25% of its total volume is actually just trapped atmospheric air. Medically speaking, eating an apple a day really does keep the doctor away. The vibrant red skin is incredibly rich in a soluble fiber called pectin, which acts just like a biological sponge in your digestive tract, actively binding to dietary cholesterol and physically sweeping it out of your system entirely before it can be absorbed into your bloodstream. 13. Dwarf Everbearing Mulberry. Coming in at number 13 is the wildly productive Dwarf Everbearing Mulberry tree. This plant is a true biological machine, functioning as a continuous producer that relentlessly pumps out incredibly sweet, dark berries straight through the absolute hottest, most punishing days of the summer season. If you live in USDA hardiness zones 5 through 9, this tree will thrive effortlessly, handling the intense heat of the lower Midwest and the sunny stretches of the West Coast without skipping a single beat. Because mulberries develop an expansive, spreading root system that loves to stretch out horizontally, you need to provide them with a wide, shallow composite resin pot. This specific material is tough enough to accommodate the aggressive root growth without cracking under pressure, while remaining light enough for you to shift around the patio. Your most urgent July survival tactic actually has nothing to do with saving the plant itself, but rather saving your property. You must place a large protective tarp or a wide plastic catch tray underneath the pot right now. As the intense summer heat accelerates the ripening process, these heavily saturated berries drop from the branches constantly. The dark, heavily pigmented juice from a squashed mulberry will permanently stain a beautiful wooden deck or a pristine concrete patio in a matter of hours. When August rolls around, the harvesting process is incredibly simple and rewarding. You only want to pick the dark, nearly black fruits that gently fall into the palm of your hand the second you brush against them. These specific berries are incredibly sweet and completely lack the sharp, biting tartness that you often find in other summer berries, making them an absolute favorite for young children to eat straight off the branch. Botanically speaking, mulberries are a fascinating oddity. They are one of the only types of summer berries that possess an incredibly low acidity profile, which means they are wonderfully safe and soothing for individuals who suffer from acid reflux or sensitive stomachs, allowing everyone to enjoy a massive bowl of fresh fruit without any discomfort. 12. Early Dwarf Pomegranate. Earning its spot at number 12 is the breathtaking Early Dwarf Pomegranate. This compact tropical shrub acts as a stunning piece of living art on your patio, erupting with vibrant, fiery orange blossoms that eventually swell into perfectly round, heavy miniature pomegranates. Pomegranates are true ancient desert survivors and perform brilliantly across USDA, hardiness zones 7 through 11. They absolutely love the arid, baking heat of the American Southwest, doing incredibly well in states like Arizona, Nevada, Texas, and the sunniest parts of Southern California. Because they naturally evolved to grow in dry, rocky, unforgiving soils, your ultimate goal is to recreate a somewhat arid environment right on your patio. A heavy, unglazed ceramic pot is the absolute perfect choice for this task. The porous ceramic walls let the soil breathe deeply and dry out fairly quickly, creating the dry root conditions this plant absolutely craves while holding up beautifully to the radiating summer heat. Your primary July strategy for the pomegranate involves the highly careful execution of controlled dehydration. Right now, as the fruit reaches its maximum physical size, you need to intentionally start watering the plant a little bit less frequently. By inducing a very mild, calculated water stress this week, you send a powerful biological signal to the plant. It immediately responds by rapidly accelerating the internal ripening process, turning the outer leathery skin a deep, gorgeous ruby red, and forcing the plant to pump maximum sugars into the seeds inside in a desperate evolutionary effort to attract local birds and animals. You will know the pomegranate is perfectly ripe and ready to harvest in August, when the leathery skin darkens considerably and begins to crack open just slightly at the natural seams. Take a pair of heavy gardening shears and confidently snip the thick stem. You can crack them open on the kitchen counter to eat the sweet, crunchy arils by the handful, or carefully press them to extract the most incredible, tart, ruby red juice you have ever tasted in your life. From a medical perspective, pomegranate juice is a verified, undisputed global superfood. It is absolutely loaded with highly unique antioxidants called punicalagins, which numerous clinical studies have conclusively shown possess an antioxidant capacity up to 3 times higher than that of red wine or green tea, drastically reducing systemic inflammation throughout the entire human body. Pomegranates also hold a massive, legendary place in ancient history. In classical Greek mythology, the pomegranate was widely known as the fruit of the underworld, famously tied to the tragic myth of Persephone, where eating just a few of its seeds bound her to Hades and created the endless cycle of the changing seasons. #11. Dwarf Tart Bush Cherry. Taking the spotlight at number 11 is the beautiful Dwarf Tart Bush Cherry. A lot of everyday backyard gardeners falsely assume that cherry trees have to be massive, towering giants that dominate the entire landscape. But this highly specialized dwarf variety grows into a beautifully compact, manageable bush. It is also completely self-pollinating, which means you only need to keep one single pot on your balcony to get a massive, reliable harvest every single year. Dwarf tart cherries absolutely love cooler climates, and perform brilliantly across USDA hardiness zones 3 through 8. They are absolute perfection for northern gardeners living in places like Michigan, Wisconsin, and upstate New York, primarily because the freezing cold winter temperatures provide the necessary chill hours the plant desperately needs to set a heavy crop of fruit the following summer. Because cherry trees prefer a slightly cooler root environment to truly thrive, a heavy, thick, natural wood planter is your absolute best option. The dense wood provides superior thermal insulation against the heat radiating off an August concrete patio, which keeps the delicate feeder roots perfectly content, while the leafy canopy above soaks up the bright summer sun. Right now in late July, your cherry tree is likely putting on a spectacular visual show as the hard green berries rapidly transition to a brilliant, glowing red. This leads directly to your most urgent, non-negotiable task of the week. Wild birds possess incredibly sharp eyesight, and in the dry, unforgiving heat of midsummer, a bright red, juicy cherry is an irresistible target that they can spot from miles away. You must drape a lightweight bird netting over the entire canopy of the bush and secure it tightly around the base of the wooden planter today. If you leave the plant completely unprotected for even one single afternoon, a flock of thirsty birds will strip the entire bush bare before you even get home from work. When August arrives, and the cherries finally darken to a rich, deep crimson color, they are officially ready to be picked. Because these are tart cherries, they are entirely too acidic to eat raw by the handful, but they are the absolute undisputed king of the baking world. Pitting these fresh cherries and simmering them into a thick, bubbling pie filling will make your entire house smell like absolute heaven. Beyond their culinary perfection, sour cherries are a true medical marvel. They are one of the only natural food sources on the entire planet that contain extremely high levels of pure, naturally occurring melatonin. Eating a warm slice of cherry pie or drinking their tart juice in the evening acts as a highly potent natural sedative, helping to regulate your biological circadian rhythm and promoting an incredibly deep, restful night of sleep. 10. Dwarf Apricot. Shifting our focus at number 10 is the visually stunning dwarf apricot tree. This deciduous beauty is a magnificent performer, reliably producing an absolute abundance of sweet, golden stone fruit right in the middle of the summer heat. Dwarf apricot trees are incredibly resilient and grow best in USDA hardiness zones 5 through 8, where they can experience the distinct chill of winter before basking in the intense heat of the summer sun. Because this tree produces a fairly dense, leafy canopy and demands a tremendous amount of water to fully support its massive fruit load, you need to plant it in a heavy-duty, 15-gallon container made of highly insulated, thick plastic. This thick outer wall acts as a crucial barrier against the scorching summer wind, ensuring the soil remains evenly moist and does not dry out entirely in a single afternoon. Your critical July intervention requires immediate, proactive temperature control at the soil level. The intense heat of the midday sun beating down on the potting mix can cause massive, rapid temperature swings in the root zone, which heavily stresses the plant. This severe biological stress will actually cause your nearly ripe apricots to drop prematurely from the branch right before you plan to pick them, ruining your entire crop. To completely prevent this tragic loss, you must apply a thick, 3-inch layer of heavy organic mulch directly over the surface of the soil today. This thick organic blanket traps the moisture deep in the dirt and completely stabilizes the root temperature, guaranteeing smooth, flawless fruit for your upcoming August harvest. In just a few short weeks, your apricots will be perfectly ready to pick when the skin develops a beautiful golden orange hue and the sweet flesh gives ever so slightly when you gently press it with your thumb. Apricots can turn incredibly soft very quickly in the intense August heat, so do not leave them hanging once they are ripe, or they will begin to actively ferment on the branch. Bring them into the kitchen, slice them in half to carefully remove the pit, and cook them down into a stunning, bright summer jam that will amaze your family. Eating these homegrown apricots offers a phenomenal medical advantage that most people completely ignore. The brilliant, fiery orange color of the apricot skin is a direct indicator that the fruit is absolutely packed with massive amounts of beta-carotene. Once consumed, your body rapidly converts this powerful compound into vitamin A, which plays a highly critical role in protecting the long-term health of your retinas and preventing age-related macular degeneration as you get older. 9. Patio Grapevine. Moving deeper into our patio orchard, the incredibly charming Patio Grapevine commands our attention at number 9. For generations, people falsely assumed they needed a massive wooden pergola and sweeping acres of land to grow fresh, delicious grapes at home. Fortunately, modern agricultural breeding has created specialized dwarf varieties that grow in a compact, bushy habit perfectly suited for a potted lifestyle. Patio grapevines are highly adaptable and grow exceptionally well across USDA hardiness zones 4 through 9. They absolutely love the sunny, dry heat of California and the Mediterranean climates of the West Coast. But they are surprisingly cold-hardy and will produce massive yields in the Midwest and the temperate parts of the East Coast, as long as you provide excellent drainage. The absolute best vessel for this plant is a 10-gallon container made of high-quality composite resin. Grape roots need to stay consistently hydrated to pump water into those heavy fruit clusters, and a solid resin pot prevents the rapid moisture evaporation that happens with porous clay, while still being durable enough to withstand the brutal summer elements year after year. Your ultimate July survival task involves grabbing a pair of sharp pruning shears. Take a very close look at your vine today and aggressively snip away any large, older leaves that are directly casting shadows on your grape clusters. The developing fruit desperately needs direct, unfiltered sunlight right now to trigger the complex chemical reaction that changes their color and rapidly builds up their internal sugar levels for a sweet August harvest. Furthermore, the dry heat of July means wild birds are incredibly thirsty and desperate for moisture. As soon as those grapes start to blush with color, you must slip a fine mesh drawstring bag over every single cluster, or you will wake up to find nothing but bare stems scattered across your patio. When August rolls around, you will know it is time to harvest when the entire cluster has completely shifted to a deep, uniform color, and the grapes feel slightly soft to the gentle touch of your fingers. You can eat them fresh right off the vine or boil them down into a thick, incredibly rich breakfast jam. A fascinating botanical fact about grapes is that the powdery white film you always see coating the outside of the skin is not pesticide residue or roadside dust. It is actually a naturally occurring wild yeast bloom that the plant produces entirely on its own, which has been used for thousands of years by winemakers to naturally ferment crushed grapes into wine. From a medical standpoint, the dark skins of these grapes are absolutely loaded with resveratrol, a highly potent antioxidant that has been extensively studied globally for its remarkable ability to protect the human heart and continuously support long-term cardiovascular health as we age. 8. Dwarf European Plum. Next, we face a true summer heavyweight at number 8, the incredibly prolific Dwarf European Plum tree. This specific variety is a reliable, heavy-yielding stone fruit tree that patiently accumulates massive amounts of sugar to produce incredibly dense, sweet plums late in the season. Dwarf European plum trees are incredibly tough and grow best in USD, a hardiness zones 5 through 9, excelling in regions that experience distinct, traditional seasons from the fertile Central Valley of California to the temperate climates of the Northeast. Because this tree grows a heavy canopy of leaves and demands a tremendous amount of water to support its fruit, you should plant it in a heavy-duty, 15-gallon container made of highly insulated, thick plastic. This thick outer wall helps protect the delicate root system from the drying summer wind, making sure the soil stays evenly moist and does not dry out completely in just one afternoon. Your most important job in July is managing the temperature at the soil level. The hot midday sun followed by cooler summer nights can cause rapid temperature changes in the soil. This kind of biological stress can actually cause your nearly ripe plums to split wide open on the branch right before you plan to pick them. To completely prevent this from happening, you should put a thick 3-inch layer of pine bark mulch directly over the potting soil today. This organic layer traps moisture in the dirt and keeps the root temperature very stable, which helps ensure you get smooth, intact fruit for your August harvest. In just a few weeks, your plums will be ready to pick when the skin develops a dusty, powdery bloom and the flesh gives just a little bit when you press it. Plums turn incredibly soft very quickly in the intense August heat, so do not leave them hanging once they are ripe, or they will begin to actively ferment on the tree. Bring them into the kitchen, slice them in half to carefully remove the pit, and bake them into a stunning, buttery summer tart that will absolutely amaze your family. Eating these homegrown plums offers a phenomenal medical advantage that most people completely ignore. Clinical studies have conclusively shown that the dense concentration of specific phenolic compounds found in dark plums actively helps to significantly increase bone mineral density, making them a delicious and highly powerful tool for preventing osteoporosis and strengthening your skeletal system as you age into your later years. 7. Dwarf Plumcot. Arriving at number 7 is an absolute masterpiece of botanical engineering, the late-season Dwarf Plumcot. This specific tree represents the absolute pinnacle of selective fruit breeding, perfectly combining the dripping, juicy texture of a ripe summer plum with the intensely fragrant floral sweetness of a traditional apricot. These hybrid trees are highly productive and thrive beautifully across USD. A hardiness zones 6 through 9, demanding a good amount of winter chill followed by a long, baking summer to fully develop their complex flavor profile. Because plumcots are incredibly sensitive to inconsistent moisture levels, the absolute best container you can use is a massive 15-gallon glazed ceramic pot. The slick, glassy glaze on the outside of the pot serves to physically lock the moisture inside the soil, giving the tree a highly reliable reservoir of water to draw from during the absolute hottest, most punishing part of the afternoon. Your most urgent July tactic requires you to be entirely ruthless with your fruit development. You must step out to your patio today and aggressively thin the fruit clusters. If you see 3 or 4 small plumcots growing tightly together on a single branch, you must carefully pluck off the smallest ones immediately. This aggressive thinning process forces the tree to redirect all of its massive metabolic energy into the remaining fruit, ensuring they grow to the size of a baseball and develop an explosive level of sweetness. When August finally arrives, you must exercise extreme patience. Unlike many other stone fruits that turn to mush very quickly, the plumcot has an absolutely incredible hang time. This means the fruit can safely remain attached to the branch for weeks, while continuing to deepen in color and accumulate massive amounts of sugar without rotting. You want to wait until the skin achieves a deeply saturated, dark, uniform color before you gently twist it off the branch for the ultimate eating experience. From a nutritional perspective, the smooth, flawless skin of the plumcot is absolutely packed with a massive dose of natural vitamin C. Consuming this fruit fresh off the tree provides a significant boost to your immune system, helping your body naturally fend off summer colds while aggressively combating the oxidative stress caused by spending long hours out in the blazing August sun. 6. Late-season dwarf blueberry. Injecting a phenomenal dose of antioxidants into our garden at number 6 is the stunning late-season dwarf blueberry bush. If you want a plant that provides incredible nutrient-dense fruit in the summer and then puts on a breathtaking display of fiery red foliage in the fall, this is the ultimate container plant. Blueberries are extremely cold hardy, growing very well across USDA, hardiness zones 3 through 7. They absolutely dominate in regions with naturally acidic forest soils, making them perfect for places like Maine, Michigan, and the cooler areas of the Pacific Northwest. Because highly acidic soil will slowly break down the inside of concrete or unglazed clay pots over time, you should use a high-quality, UV-treated plastic container around the 7-gallon size. The plastic is completely inert and will hold the acidic soil without degrading at all. The intense July heat can cause moisture to evaporate quickly, which can alter the pH of the soil, so a good step to take today is applying a thick top dressing. You can gather some fallen pine needles or used coffee grounds from your kitchen and spread a nice layer over the surface of the soil. As this organic mulch breaks down, it slowly feeds mild acidity back into the dirt, keeping the pH right where it needs to be so your berries turn a deep, uniform blue during this hot weather. When August gets here and those berries finally change from green to a dark, dusty navy blue, you need to act quickly. Do not wait for the weekend to roll around. Squirrels have an amazing ability to find ripe blueberries, and they will strip the bush clean very early in the morning. Pick them right away when they are dark and pull off the thin stem easily. Tossing a handful of these fresh, plump berries into some homemade morning muffins is a great late summer treat. It is a neat botanical fact that blueberries are one of the only naturally occurring foods on the planet that are truly blue, since that specific color pigment is quite rare in the natural world. The medical community often praises blueberries for their high concentration of flavonoids. Long-term cognitive studies have shown that consuming these flavonoids on a regular basis can help delay age-related cognitive decline and support good memory function in older adults. 5. Dwarf Thornless Blackberry. Standing tall at number 5 is the absolute patio superstar, the Dwarf Thornless Blackberry. Being able to step out onto your patio and harvest giant, incredibly sweet blackberries without having to put on heavy leather work gloves to deal with sharp, vicious thorns is a true gardening luxury that everyone should experience. Blackberries are incredibly adaptable and highly robust, growing exceptionally well across USDA, hardiness zones 5 through 8. You will see them thriving everywhere from the moderate, rainy climates of Oregon down through the warm, humid stretches of southern states like Georgia and Alabama. Because this particular plant grows long, trailing canes that get quite heavy when they are absolutely loaded with dark fruit, you need a sturdy container to act as a solid anchor. A large, square wooden planter box is a fantastic choice. It provides more than enough physical weight to keep the plant from blowing over in the wind, and the solid wooden frame gives you an incredibly easy place to attach a sturdy wooden trellis. Your main job right now in July is making absolutely sure that the fruit canopy is well secured. Those long branches are holding a lot of heavy green berries right now. When the typical violent summer thunderstorms bring heavy wind gusts this month, any unsupported canes can easily snap near the base, which is incredibly frustrating after months of careful watering. Take some soft garden twine and gently tie the fruiting branches to your trellis today. As August arrives, you need to be very patient with the berries. Do not pick them as soon as they turn black, because they will still be very sour and highly acidic. A blackberry is only truly ripe when the shiny black finish turns a little bit dull and the heavy berry practically falls into your hand as soon as you touch it. Those fully ripe berries have a great, sweet, earthy flavor. Beyond tasting great, blackberries offer some very solid health benefits. Their incredibly dark color comes from massive concentrations of anthocyanins. These specific antioxidants have been shown in clinical studies to successfully cross the blood-brain barrier, actively helping to protect neural pathways from oxidative stress, which can significantly improve short-term memory and help keep your brain functioning well as you get older. 4. Dwarf Everbearing Raspberry. Right next to that on the patio at number 4 is the highly rewarding Dwarf Everbearing Raspberry bush. This specific container variety stays quite compact, grows into a beautiful rounded mound, and best of all, it is completely thornless, making it a very safe plant to keep on a busy deck where children and pets are playing freely. Raspberries are cold, hardy plants that flourish beautifully in USDA, hardiness zones 4 through 8. They absolutely love the cooler, mild summers of the Pacific Northwest and the Midwest, producing an incredible second flush of fruit right as the late summer heat peaks. Raspberries really do not like sitting in heavy, soggy dirt, so you should plant them in an unglazed, raw terracotta pot that holds about 5 gallons of soil. The porous clay walls of the raw terracotta act like a massive sponge, constantly pulling extra moisture away from the dirt and allowing the soil to breathe naturally. This goes a long way in completely preventing root rot for a plant that requires regular watering. Your most important care step in the sweltering weeks leading up to August has entirely to do with how you water the plant. You must take your watering can and carefully pour the water directly onto the soil at the base of the plant very early in the morning. You need to be extremely careful not to splash any water onto the leaves or the developing green fruit. In the heavy, humid heat of late summer, water sitting on a fuzzy raspberry will quickly lead to a devastating fungal infection known as gray mold, which can easily ruin your entire crop in just a couple of days. When August begins, you will know the berries are ready to harvest when you gently pull on a bright red one and it easily slips right off its white central core, leaving you with a perfectly hollow berry. Eating them fresh over a bowl of thick Greek yogurt is an unbeatable breakfast. From a fascinating botanical standpoint, a single raspberry is not actually one solid fruit. It is an aggregate fruit, which means it is a tight cluster of dozens of small individual fruits called drupellates, and each one holds its own tiny microscopic seed. Medically speaking, fresh raspberries are incredibly good for you. They are completely full of ellagic acid, which is a potent antioxidant that has been thoroughly documented in oncological research for its remarkable ability to actively inhibit the rapid growth and reproduction of cancer cells in the human body. 3. Dwarf Fig. Earning its rightful place as a reliable patio staple at number 3 is the dwarf fig tree. Planting a fig tree instantly brings a very relaxed, sun-drenched Mediterranean feeling right to your backyard. Fig trees are heat-loving, aggressive survivors that do exceptionally well in USDA, hardiness zones 7 through 10. They absolutely love the long, baking summers of Texas and the mild coastal climates of California. If you live in a colder northern zone, planting it in a heavy container gives you the huge advantage of being able to pull the tree into an unheated garage during its winter dormancy to protect the roots from completely freezing over. Fig trees possess root systems that grow to be very powerful and expansive over time. If you plant a fig in a delicate ceramic pot, the roots will eventually expand and can shatter the pot into pieces. You must use a heavy-duty, thick-walled, rigid plastic container, at least 15 gallons in size, to safely hold the aggressive root mass without cracking. Your main July strategy is all about practicing strict restraint. You should absolutely not apply any fertilizer right now. If you give the tree a sudden boost of nutrition in the middle of summer, it will quickly push out new green leaves and completely stop putting sugar into the ripening figs, Instead, focus entirely on providing a very consistent, even supply of water. If you let the soil dry out to the point where the broad leaves heavily wilt, and then you quickly flood it with water, the sudden rush of moisture will cause the nearly ripe figs to split wide open and spoil. A fig is fully ready to harvest in August when it droops heavily on its stem, feels very soft to the touch like a small water balloon, and the skin starts to show tiny hairline cracks. Slicing these fresh figs in half, stuffing them with a little tangy goat cheese, and roasting them with a generous drizzle of honey is a fantastic culinary experience. Botanically speaking, the fig is one of the more unusual plants on Earth. What you are eating is not actually a true fruit. It is a fleshy, hollow stem, and the hundreds of tiny, crunchy threads inside are actually the flowers that bloomed on the inside. Medically, fresh figs are incredibly good for your digestive system. They are densely packed with prebiotics, which serve as the primary food source for the beneficial bacteria in your gut, helping to promote a highly resilient microbiome that supports your overall immune system. 2. Genetic Dwarf Nectarine. Capturing the runner-up spot with its massive visual appeal is the genetic dwarf nectarine tree. This tree offers the absolute ultimate luxury of summer, providing the incredibly sweet, dripping flavor of a classic peach, but wrapped in a perfectly smooth, flawless skin without any of the fuzz. These highly specialized trees are incredibly productive in USDA hardiness zones 5 through 9, requiring a solid winter chill to set their fruit before demanding a long, blazing summer to fully ripen their crop. Because nectarines are notoriously sensitive to wet roots and highly susceptible to fungal diseases, making sure your pot has excellent drainage is a strict, non-negotiable requirement. The absolute best container you can use is a large 15-gallon unglazed terracotta pot. The thick, highly porous clay will aggressively pull excess water out of the soil every single time you water, which ensures the sensitive roots never sit in standing water. However, in the very hot, punishing days of late July, the sun hitting that raw terracotta pot directly can heat the soil inside to well over 100 degrees. Your brilliant rescue plan this week is to intentionally create some physical shade for the pot itself, but absolutely not for the leaves of the tree. You can take a few smaller potted plants, like culinary herbs or trailing flowers, and place them directly in front of the nectarine pot. This creates a highly effective living wall that casts a cooling shadow over the terracotta, keeping the roots perfectly comfortable while the leaves above continue to get plenty of direct sun. You also need to be a little bit strict with your fruit right now. If you see a cluster of 4 or 5 small nectarines growing very close together on one branch, you should pick off the smallest ones right away. Thinning out the fruit directs the tree's energy into the nectarines that are left, helping them grow larger and develop much better sweetness for August. When the skin turns a nice, fiery orange next month, and the patio starts to smell like sweet perfume, it is time to gently twist them off the branch. Eating a warm nectarine fresh out of your hand is a great summer experience. A lot of people do not realize that the nectarine is actually a natural, recessive genetic mutation of the traditional peach tree. The mutation simply turns off the biological feature that produces fuzz on the skin. Medically, the bright golden flesh of the nectarine contains a massive amount of lutein, which is an antioxidant that acts a bit like an internal sunscreen, helping to actively protect your skin cells and your eyes from the harsh effects of ultraviolet radiation. 1. Genetic Dwarf Peach. Finally, taking the absolute crown at our #1 spot is the breathtaking genetic dwarf peach tree. Standing at just about 6 feet tall, this incredible miniature tree produces a stunning display of pink blossoms in the spring and yields full-sized, massive peaches that rival absolutely anything grown on a giant commercial orchard. Dwarf peach trees are incredibly rewarding to grow in USD, a hardiness zones 5 through 9. They are absolutely flawless for the classic humid southern heat of Georgia and South Carolina, and they perform just as brilliantly in the sunny, dry valleys of California. Peaches are biologically made up of nearly 90% water, which means the tree needs to drink a massive amount of water to survive the summer. To help manage this high water demand, you must plant your dwarf peach in a large 15-gallon glazed ceramic pot. Unlike unglazed terracotta, the slick, glassy glaze on the outside of the pot firmly locks a good portion of the moisture inside the soil, giving the tree a highly reliable reservoir of water to draw from during the absolute hottest part of the day. Your primary July care tactic is simply keeping up with the tree's massive thirst. You must water this heavy pot deeply and thoroughly every single other day right now. If you allow the soil to go completely dry in the blazing summer sun for even a few hours, the highly stressed tree will likely drop all of its unripe peaches directly onto your patio to save its own life. If you strictly maintain that moisture, you will be heavily rewarded. When August arrives, and the green background of the peach skin changes to a warm golden orange, and you can smell the sweet fragrance radiating across the yard, it is time to harvest. Gently hold the massive peach and twist it cleanly off the branch. Slicing these warm, juicy peaches directly into a heavy cast iron skillet to make a bubbling summer cobbler is the absolute peak of backyard gardening. We all immediately recognize peaches by their iconic fuzzy skin, but that fuzz is not just for looks. It is a highly evolved biological defense mechanism. The tiny hairs physically keep microscopic insects from biting the delicate skin, and they act exactly like a raincoat to keep water droplets suspended away from the flesh, which heavily prevents deadly fungal rot from taking hold. On a medical level, researchers have conclusively found that the specific phenolic compounds isolated in stone fruits like peaches possess highly effective anti-obesity properties, actively helping the body manage metabolic issues associated with unhealthy weight gain. So there you have it, 15 exceptional dwarf fruit trees that are actively preparing to produce a massive yield next month, alongside the exact uncompromising steps you need to take to successfully get them through the most brutal weeks of July. By understanding your specific growing zone, choosing the scientifically correct pot for each unique root system, providing calculated shade to the containers when needed, and managing your water meticulously right now, your patio will absolutely reward you with an unbelievable harvest of fresh, safe, homegrown food in August. Now, I want to hear directly from you in the community. As the intense summer heat dries out the neighborhood, the local wildlife is getting incredibly thirsty and desperate for food. How are you actively defending your ripening fruit from the relentless squirrels and birds right now? Share your absolute best patio defense strategies in the comments down below so we can all learn from each other's successes. If you found these summer gardening survival tactics helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on the advanced tips and professional techniques you need to build the ultimate container garden. But don't go anywhere just yet, because the journey of transforming your backyard into a stunning container orchard is far from over. Right now, let's dive into the next, a deeply detailed care guide for your Dwarf Kumquat tree in containers. Let's get started. Throw away everything you think you know about growing and eating citrus. Every time you pick up a lemon, a lime, or a massive navel orange at a standard American grocery store, you are forced to peel away a thick, spongy, bitter rind just to get to the edible flesh inside. That is the universal law of the citrus world, but today we are going to completely shatter it. We are talking about the Dwarf Kumquat tree, a literal biological anomaly that produces a fruit you eat entirely whole, straight off the branch. The magic of this fruit lies in a bizarre botanical reversal. The rind of the kumquat is intensely sweet and packed with incredibly aromatic essential oils, while the juice inside the flesh is surprisingly tart and zesty. When you pop a whole kumquat into your mouth and bite down, the sugary rind and the sour juice mix together in real time, creating an absolute flavor explosion that simply cannot be replicated by any other fruit on Earth. Beyond the incredible culinary experience, there is a very specific reason why we are focusing heavily on the dwarf variety today. Dwarf kumquats are the absolute undisputed kings of small space container gardening. They are genetically hardwired to max out at a highly manageable 4 to 5 feet tall. They provide a stunning, dense, glossy evergreen canopy that looks incredibly beautiful on a concrete patio, a narrow wooden deck, or a tight urban balcony 365 days a year. They will never aggressively take over your outdoor space, yet they produce massive, heavy yields of premium fruit. If you have been looking for the ultimate potted orchard tree that fits perfectly into your limited space, you have finally found it. Let us dive into the exact professional-grade mechanics of how to master this incredible plant. Before you even think about buying a pot or mixing up dirt, we have to establish a bulletproof climate strategy and select the exact right variety for your personal taste. This is the pre-planting phase, and it dictates your entire future success. Let us address the geography and the climate reality first. Standard citrus trees are famously fragile when it comes to cold weather. Kumquats, however, are unique. They are grafted onto specialized, cold, hardy rootstocks that allow them to survive outdoors year-round in USDA, a hardiness zones 8 through 11. If you live in Central Florida, Southern Texas, or Southern California, you have the luxury of keeping this tree on your patio every single day of the year. But what if you live in the freezing, sub-zero winters of Zone 3, Zone 4, or Zone 5? What if you live in upstate New York, Minnesota, or Ohio? The traditional gardening world will tell you that growing tropical citrus in those northern zones is completely impossible. That is a myth. The ultimate climate hack for northern gardeners is treating the dwarf kumquat strictly as an indoor and outdoor hybrid plant. Because the tree is dwarfed and lives in a container, it is fully mobile. You let it soak up the blazing solar radiation on your patio all summer long. Then, right before the lethal autumn frost arrives, you simply wheel the container inside your house and park it in front of a sunny south-facing window. By doing this, you are actively cheating your geographical zone. You are creating a portable microclimate that allows you to harvest fresh, glowing orange citrus in the dead of winter, while a blizzard is raging outside your living room window. Once you understand your climate strategy, you must make a critical decision at the nursery. You cannot just buy a generic kumquat tree. You have to choose your specific flavor profile. American buyers will generally face two distinct choices, and they are completely different experiences. Your first option is the Nagami kumquat. This is the classic, easily recognizable, oval-shaped fruit. The Nagami is the traditional workhorse of the kumquat world. The rind is wonderfully sweet, but the juice inside is very tart and heavily acidic. Because of this sharp contrast, the Nagami is the absolute perfect choice for culinary applications. If you want to make world-class marmalades, candied citrus garnishes, or high-end craft cocktails, the Nagami is the exact variety you want. Your second option is the Meiwa kumquat. The Meiwa produces a completely round fruit, and it is widely known in the horticultural community as the sweet kumquat. Unlike the Nagami, the Meiwa features an incredibly thick, sugary rind and a flesh that is also sweet, lacking that sharp, acidic bite. If your primary goal is to walk out onto your patio, pluck a piece of fruit off the branch, and eat it fresh right on the spot as a sweet snack, the Meiwa is the ultimate, undisputed choice for you. With your climate strategy locked in and your variety selected, we move on to the absolute foundation of the tree. This includes the container, the soil chemistry, and the water quality. If you get this section wrong, your tree will die, and no amount of expensive fertilizer will save it. We must start with selecting the proper pot and understanding the golden rule of the graft line. For a young dwarf kumquat, you need to start with a 10 to 15 gallon container. You must resist the very common urge to practice overpotting. Overpotting is the amateur mistake of taking a tiny young tree and planting it directly into a massive 30-gallon tub, thinking you are giving it plenty of room to grow. This is a fatal error. A massive pot holds a massive volume of wet soil. The young root system is not large enough to drink all of that water, which means the soil will stay soaking wet for weeks at a time. The roots will suffocate, rot, and die. Stick to a 15-gallon pot to start. When it comes to the material of the pot, you have two elite choices. Unglazed terracotta is fantastic because the porous clay physically breathes. It actively wicks excess moisture away from the soil and evaporates it into the air, which is a massive advantage for citrus roots that hate being wet. Alternatively, a thick UV-resistant resin container is excellent, provided you take a power drill and create several extra half-inch drainage holes in the bottom. You can never have too much drainage when it comes to citrus. When you actually place the tree into your chosen pot, you must strictly obey the graft line rule. Every single high-quality dwarf kumquat sold in the United States is actually two different trees surgically grafted together. The top part is the fruiting kumquat scion, and the bottom part is a tough, disease-resistant rootstock. Where they meet, there is a visible, swollen diagonal scar on the lower trunk. This is the graft line. You absolutely must plant the tree so that this swollen graft joint sits at least 2 to 3 inches above the final soil level. If you bury that graft line in wet dirt, the delicate bark of the upper scion will quickly succumb to a fungal infection called Phytophthora foot rot, and the entire tree will collapse. Now we must address the dirt itself. You absolutely cannot go to a big box hardware store, buy a cheap bag of heavy, generic indoor potting soil, and expect a citrus tree to survive. Standard potting soil is heavily composed of fine peat moss. When it gets wet, it turns into a dense, heavy sponge that holds water for entirely too long. Citrus roots demand massive amounts of oxygen. If they sit in thick, wet mud, they will drown. You must engineer a highly porous, custom soil matrix that drains in literally seconds. In the professional citrus community, the absolute gold standard is known as the 5-1-1 mix. This recipe completely eliminates the danger of root rot. To build it, you need to combine 5 parts of pine bark fines, 1 part of perlite or pumice, and 1 part of rich, aged compost. Pine bark fines are small pieces of composted pine bark, ranging from the size of a dime down to coarse dust. This bark creates massive structural air pockets throughout the entire container, ensuring that water flows straight through the pot while leaving vital oxygen behind. The bark also slowly breaks down over time, providing the slightly acidic environment that citrus trees crave. The perlite acts as permanent inorganic aeration stones that never decompose, and the compost provides a slow-release bank of natural biology and trace minerals. Thoroughly mix these 3 ingredients together in a wheelbarrow, and you have created a world-class environment for your tree. The final piece of the foundational puzzle is water quality management, and this is where many urban and suburban gardeners unknowingly slowly kill their plants. Citrus trees are highly sensitive to the chemical additives found in standard American municipal tap water. Most people assume that if they fill a watering can and let it sit outside for 24 hours, the toxic chlorine will safely evaporate off gas into the atmosphere. Decades ago, this was entirely true. However, today, the vast majority of water treatment plants across the country have switched to using a chemical compound called chloramine. Chloramine is a tightly bonded mixture of chlorine and ammonia. It is specifically designed by water facilities to be highly stable so it does not evaporate out of the massive city pipe networks. This means that if you let a bucket of modern tap water sit outside for a week, the chloramine will still be in there, fully intact. When you pour that water into your container, the chloramine actively chemically burns the delicate white feeder roots of your kumquat tree and destroys the beneficial microbial life living in your organic compost. To fix this issue instantly and cheaply, you must stop relying on evaporation. You can use pure collected rainwater if you have it. You can use an expensive reverse osmosis filtration system. Or the absolute easiest hack is to go to the pet store and buy a bottle of liquid aquarium water conditioner, commonly called a dechlorinator. This liquid contains sodium thiosulfate. You simply add a single tiny drop of this blue liquid into your heavy watering can, swirl it around, and it will instantly break the chemical bond of the chloramine, rendering the water completely pure and perfectly safe for your highly sensitive citrus roots. Now that the tree is perfectly potted in the correct soil and receiving clean water, we move into the intense, high-energy phase of midsummer care, spanning from July through September. This is when the tree is working its hardest. The first major event you will notice in the dead heat of midsummer is the bloom. Unlike a peach tree or an apple tree that blooms in the cool, early days of spring, the dwarf kumquat operates on a delayed tropical schedule. Right in the middle of July or August, when the temperatures are peaking, your tree will suddenly push out hundreds of small, star-shaped, brilliant white blossoms. The scent is absolutely intoxicating. It smells exactly like a high-end jasmine perfume, and the fragrance will easily fill your entire patio or backyard. Because the tree is blooming, you have to manage pollination. If your pot is sitting outside in the open air, you do not need to do a thing. Native honeybees, bumblebees, and hoverflies will be aggressively drawn to that heavy fragrance, and they will completely handle the pollination process for you. However, if you are growing your kumquat on a heavily screened-in lanai in Florida, or on a high-rise apartment balcony in Chicago where bees cannot reach it, you have to step in. You must practice active hand pollination. Take a soft, clean cotton swab. Gently swirl the tip inside the center of one flower to collect the yellow pollen, and then gently touch that pollen to the center of the next flower. Repeat this process across the entire canopy every few days while the flowers are open to guarantee a massive fruit set. While the tree is blooming, it is also fighting the brutal summer heat dome. This brings us to the critical concept of the wet-to-dry watering swing. As previously mentioned, citrus roots despise wet feet. If you water your kumquat on a blind, strict calendar schedule, like every Tuesday and Saturday regardless of the actual weather, you will eventually kill the plant. You must learn to read the soil. You need to allow the container to experience a dramatic swing between heavy saturation and heavy drying. Every single day during the summer, push your index finger about 3 inches deep into the 5-1-1 soil mix. If you feel any dampness at all, pull your finger out and walk away. Do not add a single drop of water. You must wait until that top 3 inches of soil feels completely bone dry, dusty, and crumbly to the touch. When it finally reaches that state of deep dryness, you must water the tree aggressively. Pour your dechlorinated water evenly over the entire surface of the pot until you see it heavily flushing and pouring out of the bottom drainage holes. This massive flushing action does 2 things. It ensures that the very deepest roots at the bottom of the pot get a drink, and it physically washes away any toxic buildup of unused fertilizer salts that might be accumulating in the soil matrix. Because the tree is blooming, setting fruit, and dealing with intense solar radiation all at the same time, it is burning through incredible amounts of nutritional energy. Kumquats are notoriously heavy feeders during the summer months. Your aged compost is not enough to sustain them. You must apply a high-quality granular fertilizer that is specifically formulated and labeled for citrus and avocado trees. Citrus trees are extremely susceptible to a severe nutritional deficiency called chlorosis. Chlorosis happens when the tree cannot pull enough trace minerals out of the soil. The visual symptom is very distinct. The glossy dark green leaves will suddenly turn a sickly, pale yellow, but the veins running through the leaves will remain dark green. It looks like a bright green skeleton on a yellow background. To prevent this, your chosen citrus fertilizer must contain heavy amounts of nitrogen for leafy growth, but it must also be heavily fortified with essential micronutrients, specifically iron, zinc, and magnesium. Apply this granular feed strictly according to the package directions, usually once a month during the active summer growing season, and your tree will maintain a flawless, dark green canopy. As the blazing heat of August gives way to the cooling breezes of autumn, we enter the most critical and dangerous phase of the entire year for northern gardeners. This is the fall transition and the preparation for winter indoor care. This is the exact phase where 90% of beginners accidentally kill their potted citrus trees. The transition begins when you check your local weather forecast in the late fall. You must bring the tree inside your house before the nighttime temperatures consistently drop below 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Do not wait for the first hard frost, or the shock will severely damage the developing green fruit. However, before you ever bring that container across your threshold and into your living room, you must execute a strict, aggressive cleaning protocol. While your tree was sitting on the patio all summer, it inevitably collected microscopic hitchhikers. Tiny spider mites, aphids, and scale insects have likely set up a small camp deep inside the dense canopy. Outside, this is not a problem because natural predators like ladybugs and predatory wasps eat them and keep the population in check. But if you bring that tree inside your warm, dry, predator-free living room without cleaning it, those microscopic pests will explode into a massive, uncontrollable infestation within 2 weeks. To prevent this nightmare, take your garden hose and put it on a strong shower setting. Blast the entire canopy of the tree, making sure to hit the undersides of every single leaf to physically knock off dust and insects. Once the tree dries, spray the entire canopy heavily with a high-quality, organic neem oil solution or an insecticidal soap. Let it dry completely outdoors, and only then is the tree allowed to enter your home for the winter. Once the tree is safely inside, you are immediately going to face the single greatest enemy of indoor citrus cultivation. It is a devastating physiological reaction known in the horticultural community as winter leaf drop. Winter leaf drop is incredibly frustrating. You bring your beautiful, healthy green tree inside. You put it in a bright window. And within 2 weeks, every single leaf dries up, turns brown, and violently falls off the branches, leaving you with a completely bare, miserable-looking skeleton. Beginners assume they underwatered the tree, so they panic and pour gallons of water into the pot, which instantly rots the roots and finishes the tree off for good. To defeat winter leaf drop, you have to understand the exact biology and the thermodynamics of why it happens. It is entirely caused by a massive temperature discrepancy between the top of the tree and the bottom of the pot. When you place your tree in front of a sunny south-facing window or under a powerful LED grow light, the intense light hits the leaves. The ambient air in your living room is also kept very warm by your central heating furnace. This combination of bright light and warm air sends a biological signal to the leaves, telling them to wake up, open their pores, and start aggressively photosynthesizing and transpiring moisture. However, look at where the pot is sitting. The container is resting directly on your cold, winter hardwood floor or cold tile. The temperature at the floor level near a drafty window is often 10 to 15 degrees colder than the air at eye level. Because the heavy, wet soil in the pot is chilling on that freezing floor, the root system drops below 55 degrees Fahrenheit. At that cold temperature, citrus roots physically shut down and go to sleep. So, you have a situation where the hot, brightly lit leaves are screaming for water to photosynthesize, but the freezing cold roots are completely asleep and refuse to pump any water upward. The tree experiences catastrophic internal hydraulic failure. In a desperate panic to save itself from dying of dehydration, the tree instantly aborts every single leaf to stop the transpiration process. That is winter leaf drop. The professional secret to completely eliminating this problem is incredibly simple. You must balance the temperatures. First, never put the pot directly on the bare floor. Elevate the container by placing it on a heavy-duty rolling plant caddy or a thick wooden stool. This creates a buffer of ambient air underneath the pot. Second, you must actively warm the root zone. Go online and purchase a waterproof seedling propagation heat mat. Wrap this flexible heating mat entirely around the outside of the plastic or resin container, or place it securely underneath the elevated pot. This gentle, consistent heat will keep the soil matrix safely hovering around 65 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit all winter long. The roots will stay awake. They will pump water perfectly, and your tree will not drop a single leaf. While you are managing the temperature of the roots, you also have to manage the humidity of the air. American homes with central forced air heating run incredibly dry in the winter. The humidity levels can drop as low as 20%, which mimics a literal desert environment. Kumquats are native to humid, coastal, subtropical regions. If the air in your living room is bone dry, the edges of the leaves will crisp up and curl inward. To counteract this dry furnace heat, you need to create a localized humidity zone around the canopy of the tree. The best way to do this without damaging your drywall is to use a large, wide plastic tray. Fill the tray with a thick layer of river pebbles and pour water into the tray until it reaches just below the top of the stones. Place your potted tree securely on top of the pebbles. As the dry, hot air from your floor vents hits the tray, the water will slowly evaporate upward, wrapping the canopy in a constant, invisible column of humid air. Crucially, the pot is sitting on the stones, not sitting in the water, so the soil will not wick up excess moisture and rot the roots. If you successfully manage the indoor light, the root temperature, and the humidity, you will be rewarded with the ultimate prize of citrus gardening. Unlike almost every other fruit tree that gives you a harvest in the summer or the early fall, the dwarf kumquat uniquely ripens its fruit in the absolute dead of winter. Sometime between late December and early March, those hard green spheres will slowly transition into brilliant, glowing, neon orange jewels. The tree will look exactly like it is heavily decorated with natural Christmas ornaments. Harvesting these fruits requires a bit of care. Do not grab the kumquat and violently yank it off the branch. The stem attachment is very strong, and if you pull too hard, you will rip a large strip of bark right off the main branch, creating a deep, open wound that invites disease. Always use a pair of sharp, sterilized pruning shears to cleanly snip the tiny green stem just above the fruit. Take the harvest to your kitchen, wash them off, and experience that incredible sweet and sour explosion that makes all the effort completely worth it. Eventually, the long, dark winter will break, the snow will melt, and spring will arrive. This signals the time for the tree to make its return to the outdoor patio, which brings us to the final section of our masterclass: long-term maintenance and advanced troubleshooting. When the danger of the final spring frost has completely passed, you cannot simply take the tree from your living room and immediately throw it out onto the patio in the blazing midday May sun. If you do this, the tree will experience a catastrophic event called chlorophyll shock, commonly known as fatal sunburn. The leaves have grown accustomed to the filtered, weak light coming through your window glass. The sudden exposure to unfiltered, intense ultraviolet radiation will literally bleach the leaves white within 48 hours, and they will burn to a crisp. You must practice a patient, methodical process called hardening off. Take the tree outside and place it in a location that receives full, deep shade all day long, like under a dense oak tree or on a covered porch. Leave it there for 3 full days so it can adjust to the outdoor wind and the temperature swings. Then, move it into a spot that receives just 1 or 2 hours of gentle early morning sunlight, followed by shade for the rest of the day. Every 2 or 3 days, slowly increase its exposure to the sun by another hour. Over the course of about 10 to 14 days, you will have safely acclimated the tree to full, blasting, 8-hour summer sun without burning a single leaf. Spring is also the only appropriate time to perform any necessary structural pruning. Fortunately, the dwarf kumquat naturally grows into a very dense, symmetrical, beautiful rounded canopy. You do not have to perform the aggressive, heavy open center pruning required by peach or apple trees. Your primary goal with a kumquat is simply to use sterilized bypass pruners to snip away any branches that are visibly dead, clearly diseased, or aggressively crossing over and rubbing the bark off of a neighboring branch. Removing the cluttered interior growth helps maximize the horizontal airflow blowing through the canopy, which rapidly dries the leaves after a heavy spring rainstorm and prevents fungal diseases. However, there is one absolutely mandatory pruning task you must remain highly vigilant about, and it involves the graft line we discussed earlier. You must constantly monitor the lower trunk of the tree, specifically the area below the swollen graft joint, all the way down to the soil line. Because the rootstock is an incredibly vigorous, wild, thorny variety, it will occasionally try to take over the tree. It will push out a wildly aggressive, fast-growing green shoot from below the graft. This is called a rootstock sucker. Suckers are incredibly dangerous. Because they originate from the vigorous root system, they will grow 3 times faster than the kumquat canopy above them. They will act like a biological parasite, violently stealing all of the water, all of the nitrogen, and all of the solar energy away from the scion. If you ignore a rootstock sucker, it will eventually completely starve and kill the grafted kumquat, leaving you with a massive, thorny, useless wild bush that produces terrible, bitter, inedible fruit. The moment you see a new shoot emerging from below that graft line, you must take your sharpest pruners and cut it off perfectly, flush with the trunk. Show absolutely no mercy to suckers. As your tree grows in its container year after year, you have to manage the unseen environment below the soil line. Every time you feed the tree with granular fertilizer over the summer, the plant takes up what it needs, but the excess chemical salts are left behind in the potting mix. Over time, these mineral salts can build up to toxic levels, chemically burning the root hairs and preventing the plant from absorbing water. To prevent this, you must perform a heavy salt flush twice a year, once in the late spring and once in the late summer. Take a garden hose, turn it on a gentle but steady flow, and let pure water run continuously through the pot for 10 straight minutes. This massive volume of water will dissolve the accumulated crusty white salts and physically wash them out through the bottom drainage holes, completely resetting the chemical balance of the soil. Finally, we have to talk about root pruning. If you want to keep your dwarf kumquat highly productive and vigorously healthy in the exact same 15-gallon container for the next 10 to 15 years, you cannot just let the roots grow unchecked forever. Eventually, the roots will hit the plastic wall of the pot and begin circling endlessly, creating a dense, suffocating, impenetrable knot. This is called becoming root-bound. When a tree is severely root-bound, Water simply runs down the sides of the pot, and the center of the root ball dies of thirst. Every 2 to 3 years, right in the early spring, before the massive new growth begins, you must pull the entire tree completely out of its pot. Lay it on its side on a tarp. Take a sharp, serrated gardening knife or a clean handsaw and physically slice off the outer 1 inch of the entire root ball, including the very bottom. This sounds incredibly violent and terrifying to a beginner, but it is a highly professional, entirely necessary horticultural practice. By shaving off the circling, choked outer roots, you are stimulating the tree to push out a massive flush of highly efficient, brand new white feeder roots. Place the trimmed root ball back into the cleaned container. Fill the surrounding empty space with a fresh batch of your highly porous 5-1-1 pine bark mix and water it heavily. The tree will respond to this root pruning with an explosion of vigorous new top growth, remaining perfectly dwarfed and infinitely healthy. By mastering these highly specific professional-grade techniques, you are no longer just guessing and hoping for the best. You have the exact blueprint to engineer a fast-draining soil matrix, neutralize the hidden chemicals in your municipal water, fuel heavy blooming with targeted nutrients, and completely outsmart the dreaded winter leaf drop using basic thermal management. There is an absolute, undeniable magic in defying the limitations of a small urban space and a freezing northern climate. The ultimate payoff for your vigilance and dedication is walking out onto your patio in the blistering heat of July, being greeted by the overwhelming, intoxicating scent of jasmine like citrus blossoms, and knowing that months later, while the snow is piling up outside your living room window, you will be reaching out to harvest fresh, glowing orange, sweet, and sour fruit from a tree you sustained with your own hands. It is time to look at your empty balcony, your narrow deck, or your sunny living room window as the blank canvas for your new portable orchard. I want to hear from you down in the comments below. Are you going to plant the Tart, culinary Nagami variety this season? Or are you going to hunt down the sweet, snackable Meiwa variety? And have you ever had a frustrating battle with winter leaf drop in the past? Let me know your experiences. But don't go anywhere just yet, because the journey of transforming your backyard into a stunning container orchard is far from over. Right now, let's dive into the next 15 high-yield dwarf fruit trees for container gardening. Let's get started.
Kicking off our high-yielding backyard orchard at number 15 is the spectacular Dwarf Cavendish banana. While traditional banana plants tower at 20 feet, this specific genetic mutation stops at just 6 feet, making it the ultimate tropical heavyweight for container gardening. Because this plant develops an immense, fleshy underground corm and carries a heavy canopy of gigantic leaves, you absolutely must use a heavy-duty, 15-gallon hard plastic pot to prevent the wind from completely toppling it over. Fill this colossal container with a slightly acidic, extremely rich potting soil, heavily amended with thick organic compost and perlite for excellent drainage. You do not grow bananas from seeds. Instead, you must purchase a live, rooted, vegetative pup or sucker from a certified nursery to guarantee a true-to-type clone. Place the container in the absolute hottest, most blistering full sun location your patio can offer. Bananas consist of nearly 80% water, meaning your watering schedule must be relentless. You must heavily drench the soil every single day during the summer heat, never allowing the root zone to dry out. Feed it every 2 weeks with a specialized fertilizer heavily loaded with potassium and nitrogen. The harvest time tests your patience, typically requiring 12 to 15 months of uninterrupted growth. Once the gigantic purple flower drops and the thick cluster of green bananas begins to swell and show a slight yellow tint, use a sharp machete to slice the entire stalk right off the plant. Hang the stalk in your kitchen to ripen fully, transforming your home into a tropical oasis. Use the intensely sweet fruits for gourmet smoothies or dense banana bread. According to detailed agricultural research published by the University of Florida IFAS Extension, the banana tree is not biologically a tree at all. It is technically the world's largest perennial herb, possessing no actual woody trunk, but rather a false stem called a pseudostem made entirely of tightly packed leaves. Here is a fascinating fact. Because Cavendish bananas contain extraordinarily high, concentrated levels of the isotope potassium-40, they are physically, measurably radioactive, to the point where commercial shipping crates of bananas frequently trigger false alarms in highly sensitive radiation detectors at international ports. At number 14 is the breathtaking dragon fruit, scientifically known as Hylocereus undatus. This strange, vining tropical cactus produces enormous, neon-pink, alien-looking fruits and is absolutely tailor-made to be a high-yielding container monster on your patio. Because it is a heavy, active climbing cactus, you must use a substantial, wide 15-gallon heavy plastic pot. Crucially, you must securely bury a towering 4-foot wooden post directly into the center of the dirt to physically support the vines as they climb. Fill the pot with a top-tier sandy cactus and succulent mix, as heavy potting soil will rot the cactus instantly. You can easily grow this by purchasing a live cutting, allowing the cut-in to dry and heal for a week, and pressing it directly into the dry soil. Place the container in blazing, unrelenting sunlight. Keep the soil slightly moist during the brutal summer heat, but strictly bone dry during winter to prevent fungal diseases. Feed it generously every 2 weeks with a high-phosphorus liquid bloom booster to trigger the spectacular flower. Arriving in late summer, the large green buds will suddenly explode into dinner plate-sized white flowers. Once pollinated, the base swells into a heavy neon pink fruit. Harvest by firmly twisting the ripe fruit until it snaps off the vine. In the kitchen, slice the alien fruit in half and scoop out the sweet, refreshing, seed-speckled flesh with a spoon. According to botanical research from the University of California Cooperative Extension, the breathtaking white flowers of the dragon fruit are strictly nocturnal. They physically wait for the sun to completely set before forcefully bursting open in the dark to specifically attract their primary biological pollinators, large nectar-feeding bats. Here is a fascinating fact. If you lack giant bats on your patio, the colossal flower will physically die and fall off by mid-morning unless you wake up before dawn and use a small makeup brush to manually transfer the pollen yourself. Coming in at number 13 is the highly exotic star fruit, specifically the dwarf Hawaiian carambola. This spectacular tropical evergreen tree produces abundant clusters of waxy yellow fruit and thrives brilliantly as a highly productive patio container specimen. Because this tree develops a wide, thirsty root system, you must select a large 15-gallon heavy-duty plastic pot to retain deep, consistent soil moisture and prevent wind damage. Fill the container with a high-quality, slightly acidic, heavily composted potting soil that holds water efficiently but readily drains excess out the bottom. You must purchase a grafted dwarf nursery tree, as growing from seed guarantees highly unpredictable wild genetics that may never fruit. Place the container in an incredibly bright, full-sun location, but ensure it is completely protected from harsh backyard winds. Star fruit trees are relentless tropical drinkers. You must water the container heavily and frequently, ensuring the root zone never completely dries out, especially during fruit set. Feed it consistently every 4 weeks with a balanced organic liquid fertilizer to fuel its heavy blooming. The harvest time is incredibly rewarding, as a mature dwarf tree can produce multiple abundant flushes of fruit throughout late summer and autumn. You must wait until the deep green ridges turn entirely golden yellow before snapping them off the heavy branches. Slice the fruit horizontally to reveal perfect, edible yellow stars that taste like a crisp blend of green apples and sweet grapes, perfect for luxury salads. A rigorous medical review published in the Clinical Kidney Journal explicitly warns that star fruit contains concentrated levels of the neurotoxin caramboxin, which is entirely harmless to healthy humans, but scientifically proven to be fatal to patients with severe chronic kidney disease. Here is a fascinating fact. The compound leaves of the star fruit tree exhibit a biological phenomenon called nyctinasty. When the sun sets, the leaves physically fold themselves up tightly in a sleep position, completely reopening only when morning sunlight returns. Sliding into number 12 is the dwarf mango, specifically focusing on ultra-compact varieties like the Pickering or Condo mango. The idea of growing a towering tropical mango tree in a backyard pot seems completely insane. But these genetically compact trees are specifically engineered for tremendous patio yields. Because mango trees develop a long, vigorous taproot, you absolutely must use a deep, heavy-duty 15-gallon plastic pot to provide downward space and extreme structural stability. Fill the pot with a highly aerated, well-draining citrus or palm soil mix, heavily amended with pumice. You must completely avoid planting mango seeds from the grocery store, as they will grow into 60-foot trees. You must purchase a grafted dwarf tree. Place the pot in the most blistering, sweltering, full-sun location possible. Mangoes despise wet feet. Practice strict watering discipline, allowing the soil to dry out significantly between deep soakings to prevent root rot. Feed it monthly with a high-potassium organic fertilizer to fuel the panicles. Arriving in the agonizing heat of late summer, the tremendous fruits are ready to harvest when their skin blushes with vibrant red and yellow hues and emits an intoxicating, sweet, tropical perfume. Use sharp shears to cut the thick stem. Dice the buttery, fiberless orange flesh into a spicy backyard salsa, or blend it into a first-class smoothie. A detailed botanical profile published by the University of Florida Tropical Research and Education Center states that mango trees exhibit alternate bearing, meaning a heavy harvest of fruit one summer naturally chemically suppresses the tree, resulting in a significantly lighter harvest the following year. Here is a fascinating fact. Biologically speaking, the mango tree belongs to the Anacardiaceae plant family, making it a direct botanical cousin to poison ivy. The thick sap found in the stems and unripe skin contains a highly potent chemical called urushiol, which can trigger severe, blistering allergic skin reactions. Number 11 brings us the spectacular dwarf everbearing mulberry. Most people actively avoid mulberries because standard trees grow 40 feet tall and completely destroy concrete foundations. But this specific dwarf mutation is an absolute container superstar that produces buckets of sweet berries. You must select a large 15-gallon fabric grow bag for this plant. The highly breathable fabric forces the vigorous root system to naturally air prune, keeping the tree permanently dwarfed. Fill the bag with a rich, loamy, compost-heavy potting soil. Start this plant by purchasing a dormant bare root cutting and burying it halfway into the soil during early spring. Place the container in full, blazing backyard sun. Mulberries are relentless drinkers when fruiting. You must water the grow bag deeply every single day during the summer heat to ensure the berries become incredibly plump and juicy rather than dry. Feed it every 4 weeks with a balanced organic liquid fertilizer. Unlike standard trees that fruit just once a year, this dwarf variety produces continuous, explosive waves of sweet, blackberry-like fruit from late spring until the very first winter frost. Gently pull the dark purple berries, If perfectly ripe, they detach with zero resistance. Eat them raw, bake them into rich summer pies, or boil them down into thick jam. A comprehensive agricultural review published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry scientifically verified that dark mulberries contain concentrated levels of resveratrol, the exact same heart-protecting, anti-aging antioxidant found in high-quality red wine. Here is a fascinating fact. The leaves of the mulberry tree are the absolute exclusive diet of the Bombyx mori caterpillar, commonly known as the silkworm. Without this specific botanical genus, the entire global multi-billion-dollar ancient silk industry would instantly collapse, as they will literally starve to death before eating anything else. Before we move into the top 10, have you ever tasted a fresh mulberry picked right off the tree? Let me know your experience down in the comments. And if you are finding this list helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's keep going. At number 10 is the dwarf bush cherry. Forget the towering giant cherry trees that take a decade to fruit. Modern agricultural breeding has produced magnificent shrub-like dwarf cherries that yield incredible amounts of top-quality fruit right in backyard containers. Because the root system is surprisingly shallow and highly fibrous, a wide 7-gallon fabric grow bag is the absolute perfect choice to ensure maximum oxygenation. Fill the container with a slightly acidic, heavily composted potting soil mixed with coarse sand for superior drainage. Watering requires strict attention. As the white blossoms drop and green fruit sets, the soil must be kept consistently, deeply moist to prevent the plant from aborting its fruit. Apply a slow-release organic fertilizer just once in early spring. The harvest time is remarkably fast, usually arriving in the peak of midsummer. These dense bushes max out at just 4 feet tall, meaning you can easily cover the entire pot with a bird net and harvest the dark, crimson-red cherries by hand from the comfort of a patio chair. These tart, complex cherries are the undisputed kings of baking, creating the most intense, rich, deep red cherry pies you will ever taste. A comprehensive nutritional study published in the Journal of Nutrition scientifically proved that tart cherries contain extraordinarily high natural concentrations of exogenous melatonin, significantly enhancing human sleep quality and effectively curing chronic insomnia when consumed before bed. Here is a fascinating fact. Unlike almost all traditional sweet cherry trees that absolutely require you to plant a second, completely different cherry tree nearby for cross-pollination, these specific dwarf bush cherries are biologically engineered to be 100% self-fruitful. Coming in at number 9 is the dwarf blueberry. Growing blueberries directly in backyard dirt is notoriously difficult because of their extreme soil requirements, making container growing the ultimate biological cheat code for this high-yielding antioxidant powerhouse. Because blueberry roots are incredibly fine, shallow, and highly prone to suffocation, you absolutely must use a 5-gallon breathable fabric grow bag. Standard potting dirt will kill this bush instantly. You must use a highly specialized, extremely acidic soil mix, composed primarily of pure peat moss and pine bark fines, explicitly maintaining a pH between 4.0 and 5.0. Purchase a 2-year-old bare root plant and place it in full direct sunlight. You must water this bush religiously every single day during the scorching summer, strictly using collected rainwater, as the alkaline calcium in municipal tap water will completely destroy the soil's critical acidity. Fertilize it twice a season with an acid-loving organic feed intended for azaleas. Arriving in midsummer, the bush will be completely covered in small, bell-shaped white flowers that magically transform into plump, dusty blue berries. Handpick the berries only when they easily roll off the stem into your palm without pulling. These sweet, tart berries are perfect for baking artisanal muffins or folding into morning oatmeal. A decades-long health study published by the Harvard School of Public Health definitively proved that the profound concentration of anthocyanins, the actual biological pigment making them blue, significantly delays cognitive decline and physically protects the human brain against the onset of Alzheimer's disease. Here is a fascinating fact. True blueberries are one of the only commercially grown food crops on the entire planet that are completely, strictly native to North America. Indigenous Native American tribes fiercely guarded wild patches, using the crushed berries to dye their sacred garments. Number 8 brings us the spectacular Dwarf Thornless Blackberry. Traditional blackberry brambles are terrifying, aggressive, thorn-covered monsters that will quickly take over an entire backyard. But this spectacular genetic dwarf stays perfectly compact, is completely thornless, and yields a bountiful harvest. Because it naturally grows as a dense, low-spreading bush rather than a sprawling vining cane, a wide, 5-gallon heavy plastic pot is the absolute perfect container. Fill the pot with a top-tier, slightly acidic, highly aerated potting soil, heavily amended with peat moss and rich compost. Purchase a bare root dormant plant from a certified nursery and plant it deeply in early spring. Place the container in an area receiving full, direct sunlight for at least 8 hours a day. Blackberries are incredibly thirsty plants when actively producing fruit. You must water the container deeply and relentlessly, ensuring the soil never dries out during the blistering heat of summer. Feed it monthly with a balanced organic liquid fertilizer to fuel the heavy flower clusters. Arriving in midsummer, the dense bush will be heavily loaded with exceptionally plump, jet black berries. Because there are absolutely zero thorns, you can confidently harvest the huge berries bare-handed without shedding a single drop of blood. These intensely sweet, complex berries are the ultimate ingredient for dark, artisan summer jams and rich cobblers. A rigorous clinical study published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry proved that the dark black pigment in these specific berries contains powerful anthocyanins that actively cross the blood-brain barrier, physically reversing age-related motor and cognitive decline. Here is a fascinating fact. Biologically speaking, a blackberry is not actually a true berry. It is scientifically classified as an aggregate fruit, meaning each individual juicy bump on the surface is technically a complete, separate, tiny fruit, containing its own microscopic seed. At number 7, we have the magnificent calamandan, often called the calamansi. This stunning, miniature citrus tree is an absolute powerhouse of fruit production, capable of yielding hundreds of tiny, bright orange fruits simultaneously on a tiny balcony patio. Because citrus roots despise standing water and demand heavy oxygenation, a 10-gallon, highly breathable fabric grow bag is the perfect container, naturally air pruning the roots and preventing deadly fungal rot. Fill the bag with a specialized, rapidly draining citrus and cactus soil mix, heavily diluted with coarse sand and pine bark. Growing from seed takes nearly 5 years to fruit, so purchasing a grafted nursery sapling is strictly mandatory. Place the container in at least 8 uninterrupted hours of blazing direct sunlight. Your watering strategy must explicitly rely on the wet and dry cycle. Soak the bag completely, then absolutely refuse to water it again until the top 3 inches are completely bone dry. Feed it every 6 weeks with an iron-rich, granular citrus fertilizer. The harvest time is truly incredible because calamandans are true ever-bearing trees, constantly producing highly fragrant white blossoms and ripe fruit 365 days a year. Harvest with sharp snips when they turn a vibrant deep orange. In the kitchen, generously squeeze the highly acidic aromatic juice over grilled seafood. A comprehensive horticultural study published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry verified that the peel contains extraordinarily high concentrations of delimonene, actively lowering human blood sugar levels and effectively suppressing acute systemic inflammation. Here is a fascinating fact. The calamondin possesses a bizarre inverted biological flavor profile. The brilliant orange skin is shockingly sweet, while the inner juice is violently sour. The proper way to eat it raw is to pop the entire unpeeled fruit into your mouth to perfectly balance the extremes. Number 6 is the majestic kumquat tree, specifically the cold-hardy Nagami variety. This tiny, elegant evergreen tree produces an absolute explosion of elongated, bright orange citrus fruits and is specifically engineered by nature to thrive and yield heavily in cramped containers. You must plant it in a deep, 7-gallon heavy plastic pot to firmly protect its sensitive taproot from sudden temperature drops during the autumn months. Fill the pot with a specialized, slightly acidic citrus mix that balances moisture retention with rapid drainage. Buy a live grafted tree from a certified nursery. Place it in a location receiving full, unshaded sunlight from dawn until dusk. Kumquats are incredibly thirsty when actively setting fruit. You must water deeply every 3 days during summer, ensuring the drainage holes are never blocked by patio debris. Apply a specialized zinc and magnesium-heavy citrus fertilizer once every 2 months. The harvest time occurs right in the dead of winter, providing a spectacular, brilliant burst of fresh fruit when the rest of your garden is completely dormant and frozen. Harvest by meticulously snipping the fruits individually to avoid tearing the delicate branches. Slice them incredibly thin to make artisanal bittersweet marmalades, or candy them whole in heavy sugar syrup. A major botanical profile published by the University of California, Riverside dictates that eating the high-fiber peel directly along with the juice highly stimulates digestion and nutrient absorption. Here is a fascinating fact. The kumquat tree is scientifically proven to be the most cold-hardy of all commercially grown citrus species on the entire planet. While a standard orange tree dies instantly in freezing temperatures, a mature kumquat enters deep biological dormancy, physically surviving brutal temperatures, plunging down to 18 degrees Fahrenheit without sustaining any permanent cellular damage. Eating the peel, along with the juice, makes the kumquat a very unique fruit. Do you prefer growing sweet or sour citrus varieties? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe before we continue. Taking the number 5 spot is the spectacular dwarf guava, specifically ultra-compact varieties like Ruby Supreme. This incredible, fast-growing tropical shrub produces a tremendous abundance of intensely sweet, aromatic fruits and is perfectly tailored for explosive yields in a backyard container. Because it naturally grows as a dense, wide-spreading bush, you must use a 10-gallon, highly breathable fabric grow bag to effectively air prune the roots and stop them from choking the pot. Fill the bag with a rich, well-draining standard potting mix heavily amended with organic worm castings and coarse sand. Always purchase a rooted cutting or grafted tree, as seed-grown guavas are notoriously unreliable in fruit quality. Place the container in the most blistering, sun-drenched corner of your patio, as guavas absolutely require extreme heat to develop their high sugar content. During the peak summer, water the fabric bag heavily every 2 days to ensure the fruit swells. Apply a heavy, phosphorus-rich organic granular fertilizer early in spring. Arriving in late summer through autumn, you will know the fruits are perfectly ripe when the green skin blushes to a bright pale yellow and your entire patio is filled with a ridiculously strong, sweet, musky perfume. Hand-pick the soft fruits individually. Slice them in half and eat the bright pink flesh, seeds and all. or thoroughly blend them into a thick, luxurious tropical juice. A comprehensive nutritional analysis published by the USDA scientifically confirms that a single raw guava contains nearly 4 times the amount of pure vitamin C as a large orange, making it an ultimate immune-boosting superfruit. Here is a fascinating fact. The thick, veined leaves of the guava tree possess such extraordinarily powerful antibacterial properties that herbalists in South America routinely crush the raw foliage and pack it directly into open, bleeding wounds to instantly stop hemorrhaging and prevent severe infections. Breaking into the top 4 is the magnificent pineapple. Most people falsely assume you need a vast, sprawling plantation to grow these, but the pineapple is actually a remarkably compact bromeliad that produces an exquisite tropical fruit in a tiny backyard container. Because the root system is surprisingly tiny and incredibly shallow, a wide 5-gallon unglazed terracotta pot is the absolute perfect choice to ensure the soil dries out rapidly. Fill the pot with an incredibly poor, sandy, cactus-like potting mix, heavily choked with perlite. You do not need seeds. Simply twist the spiky green crown off a fresh grocery store pineapple, strip the bottom leaves to expose the root nodes, and press it directly into the damp sand. Place the pot in the hottest, sun-drenched corner of your patio. You must completely allow the soil to become utterly bone dry between deep waterings, or the central core will rot instantly. Apply a liquid organic fertilizer directly into the central cup of the spiky leaves every 2 months. The harvest takes 2 to 3 grueling years to produce a single fruit. Eventually, a beautiful stalk will rise, producing a gorgeous golden pineapple. Wait until the spiky skin turns entirely bright yellow and the intense aroma fills your patio before using a heavy serrated knife to chop it off the stalk. Grill the thick rings for a gourmet backyard barbecue side dish. A biochemical study published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry confirms the raw core contains highly concentrated levels of bromelain, a remarkably powerful proteolytic enzyme proven to physically digest complex human proteins and significantly speed up surgical healing. Here is a fascinating fact. Because of that flesh-eating bromelain enzyme, when you are eating a bowl of raw pineapple, the powerful biological enzymes inside the fruit are literally actively digesting the microscopic flesh of your tongue and cheeks right back. Coming in at number 3 is the dwarf pomegranate, scientifically known as Punica granatum nana. This magnificent ancient shrub produces spectacular, fiery red trumpet-shaped flowers, followed by hundreds of miniature, jewel-filled crimson fruits, all while staying incredibly compact. Because it naturally thrives in rocky, completely barren landscapes, you must select a heavy, unglazed 5-gallon terracotta pot to rapidly draw out excess moisture away from the root zone. You must fill the pot with a highly alkaline, desert-style cactus mix, heavily choked with crushed gravel and agricultural pumice. While propagating from hardwood cuttings is preferred, you can actually grow this from the fruit seeds pressed into damp sand, though you must wait 3 years for fruit. Place the heavy terracotta pot in the most punishing, blistering, full-sun environment available. Treat it exactly like a desert survivor. Let the pot dry out completely, almost until the leaves droop, before unleashing a heavy deluge of water. A single handful of organic bone meal in early spring fuels the abundant flower production. Arriving in late autumn, the small leathery red orbs will begin to physically split open directly on the branch. Snip them off, break open the bitter rind, and extract the brilliant ruby red arils. Crush them to extract pure antioxidant-rich pomegranate juice. A landmark clinical trial published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition prove that pomegranate arils contain tremendous levels of punicalagins, powerful antioxidants scientifically proven to physically reverse arterial plaque buildup and lower blood pressure. Here is a fascinating fact. In ancient Greek mythology, the pomegranate was known as the fruit of the dead. Because Persephone ate exactly 6 sweet pomegranate seeds in the underworld, she was eternally cursed to spend 6 months underground, explaining the biological origin of the cold winter season. The runner-up at number 2 is the breathtaking genetic dwarf nectarine. This is not a standard fruit tree that was merely grafted onto a small rootstock. This is a brilliant genetic mutation, creating a dense, beautiful miniature tree topping out at 5 feet, but producing abundant yields of full-sized stone fruit. You must select a heavy, substantial 15-gallon plastic pot. A large container provides the sheer physical weight needed to prevent the top-heavy, fruit-laden tree from forcefully tipping over and smashing on your patio in severe winds. Fill it with a high-quality, well-draining potting soil, heavily amended with compost and coarse sand. Purchase a bare-root, dormant tree from a specialized nursery and plant it deeply before the spring weather warms. Place the container in the absolute sunniest spot on your patio. During the spring fruit set, watering must be deep and highly consistent. If the soil dries out even once, the tree will panic and physically drop all its unripe nectarines. Feed it early in spring with a slow-release granular fruit tree fertilizer. Occurring in the brutal heat of mid to late summer, the fruit is perfectly ripe when the green skin completely transitions to a deep, blushing red, and the flesh yields slightly to gentle thumb pressure. Gently twist the fruit off the thick branch. Slice these warm, sun-ripened nectarines directly over artisanal vanilla ice cream. Agricultural research from the University of California, Davis confirms genetic dwarf stone fruit trees possess extraordinarily short internodes, meaning the dense canopy of foliage physically shades and completely protects the sensitive fruit skin from severe solar sunburn. Here is a fascinating fact. Biologically speaking, a nectarine and a peach are exactly the same botanical species. The entire sweeping difference between the two fruits relies exclusively on just one single, naturally occurring recessive gene that physically controls the production of fuzzy peach skin. Taking the absolute crown at number 1 is the genetic dwarf fig tree, specifically the legendary Little Miss Figgy variety. Standard fig trees grow 30 feet tall and produce highly invasive roots that physically crush concrete pipes. But this brilliant dwarf mutation yields abundant, sticky gourmet figs from a tiny, elegant patio pot. Because fig roots require extreme physical restriction to trigger heavy fruiting, a tight 5-gallon unglazed terracotta pot is the ultimate container. The tight space physically forces the tree to stop growing roots and start producing tremendous amounts of fruit. Fill the container with a very poor, heavy, loamy potting soil, heavily mixed with coarse sand for rapid drainage. Propagate this tree by taking a dormant hardwood cutting and sticking it directly into the damp dirt in early spring. Place the heavy pot in the most blistering, sun-scorched corner of your backyard. The watering strategy requires harsh, ruthless discipline. Allow the soil to dry out completely between deep waterings, as overwatering causes the swelling figs to physically split open and rot directly on the branch. Apply only a single handful of organic bone meal in the spring. Occurring in late summer, wait until the dark purple figs physically droop downward and become incredibly soft to the touch, often leaking a single drop of sweet honey from the bottom eye. Gently twist them off the branch. Wrap these intensely sweet, warm fruits in high-quality prosciutto and roast them for a luxury appetizer. According to a detailed botanical profile published by the University of California, fig trees are completely flowerless on the outside. The actual flowers are biologically inverted and grow entirely trapped inside the fleshy fruit cavity. Here is a fascinating fact. Because the flowers are trapped inside, ancient species of figs possess a microscopic hole explicitly designed for a specific species of female wasp to crawl inside, pollinate the fruit, and physically die, eventually being entirely enzymatically digested by the growing fig.
That wraps up our list of the 15 best high-yield dwarf fruit trees for container gardening. Which of these heavy producers makes the most sense for your patio? Did I leave out a high-yielding variety that you've already had success with? Let me know in the comments below, along with what gardening topics you want me to cover next. But don't go anywhere just yet, because the journey of transforming your backyard into a stunning container orchard is far from over. Right now, let's dive into the next 15 container dwarf fruit trees that thrive in extreme summer heat. Let's get started. Number 15. We have the dwarf fig. If there is one fruit tree that seems to laugh at summer heat, it's the fig. While many fruit trees become stressed during long stretches of hot weather, figs actually respond by producing sweeter, richer fruit. That's one reason they've been grown for thousands of years throughout the Mediterranean, where blazing sunshine and dry summers are the norm rather than the exception. Popular dwarf varieties like Brown Turkey and Celeste are especially well suited to container gardening. Their naturally compact size makes them easy to manage, while still producing an impressive crop of soft, honey-sweet figs every year. Once established, they're remarkably resilient and far more forgiving than many beginner gardeners expect. For the best long-term results, plant your fig in a 15 to 20-gallon plastic container. Although fabric grow bags provide excellent drainage, plastic pots are usually the better choice because they retain moisture longer during extreme summer heat. Use a high-quality, well-draining potting mix. Position the container in full sun for at least 8 hours a day, and water deeply whenever the top 2 inches of soil become dry. A layer of mulch on the soil surface also helps keep the roots cooler during July's hottest afternoons. Dwarf figs perform best in USDA zones 7 through 10, although gardeners in colder regions can successfully grow them by moving containers into a garage or other protected location during winter. Their compact root system adapts surprisingly well to life in a pot, and light pruning each winter helps maintain an ideal size for patios and balconies. Most importantly, figs reward patience. During the first year, they'll spend much of their energy establishing roots. After that, the harvests become noticeably larger with each passing season. By midsummer, branches begin filling with soft fruit that ripens from green to deep purple or bronze, depending on the variety. Fresh figs are delicious straight from the tree, but they're equally wonderful in salads, desserts, jams, or paired with cheese. For gardeners who want a low-maintenance fruit tree that thrives in intense summer heat, few choices are more dependable than a dwarf fig. Plant it once, care for it well, and it will reward you with abundant harvests for many years to come. At number 14, we have the dwarf pomegranate. While many fruit trees struggle through long, scorching summers, pomegranates seem to thrive in them. Native to the Middle East and Mediterranean regions, these trees have adapted to intense sunshine, high temperatures, and dry conditions for thousands of years. In fact, plenty of summer heat often leads to sweeter, more flavorful fruit. Popular varieties such as Wonderful and Parfianca can be successfully grown in large containers with annual pruning to maintain a compact size. During spring and summer, the tree is covered with brilliant orange-red flowers that eventually develop into beautiful crimson fruit, making it just as ornamental as it is productive. For container growing, choose a 15 to 20 gallon plastic pot. Plastic containers hold moisture longer than fabric grow bags, helping the roots stay hydrated during July's hottest days. Fill the pot with well-drained potting mix, place it in full sun for at least 8 hours daily, and water deeply whenever the top 2 inches of soil become dry. Once established, pomegranates are remarkably drought-tolerant, but consistent watering while fruit is developing will produce larger and juicier harvests. Dwarf pomegranates grow best in USDA zones 7 through 10. If you live in a colder climate, simply move the container into a protected garage or greenhouse before severe winter freezes. During summer, however, this tree actually prefers the heat and continues growing when many other fruit trees begin to slow down. Harvest season usually arrives from late summer into fall. The ripe fruit is filled with hundreds of sweet, jewel-like arils that are delicious fresh, added to salads, blended into smoothies, or made into homemade juice. As the tree matures, you'll notice both flowering and fruit production increasing each year. If you're searching for a beautiful, low-maintenance fruit tree that loves blazing sunshine and rewards you with nutritious harvests for years, the dwarf pomegranate is one of the smartest container trees you can plant. At number 13, we have the Meyer lemon. If there is one citrus tree that has become a favorite among American container gardeners, it's the Meyer lemon. Unlike traditional lemons, Meyer lemons are naturally sweeter, less acidic, and incredibly fragrant. Even better, this compact tree loves sunshine and performs exceptionally well during long, hot summers. July is when Meyer lemon trees are actively growing, producing glossy new leaves while developing flowers and fruit at the same time. The intense summer sun helps ripen the fruit and encourages even more blooms, allowing many gardeners to enjoy multiple harvests throughout the year. For the best results, plant your Meyer lemon in a 15 to 20 gallon plastic container. Plastic pots retain moisture better than fabric grow bags, which is especially helpful during prolonged heat waves. Use a high-quality citrus potting mix with excellent drainage. Place the tree in full sun for at least 8 hours each day, and water deeply whenever the top 2 inches of soil become dry. Regular feeding with the citrus fertilizer during the growing season keeps the tree healthy and productive. Meyer lemon grows best in USDA zones 8 through 11. In colder climates, simply move the container indoors or into a protected location before freezing temperatures arrive. This flexibility is one of the biggest reasons it's become one of the most popular fruit trees for patios and balconies. The reward is well worth the effort. Mature trees can produce dozens of fragrant lemons each year. Their thin skin, sweet flavor, and abundant juice make them perfect for lemonade, desserts, seafood, roasted vegetables, and countless everyday recipes. Add the tree's beautiful white blossoms and glossy evergreen leaves, and you have a container fruit tree that's attractive every month of the year. At number 12, we have the key lime. Few fruit trees capture the feeling of summer better than a lime tree loaded with bright green fruit. Smaller than Persian limes but packed with intense citrus flavor, key limes are famous for pies, cocktails, marinades, and refreshing drinks. Better yet, they absolutely thrive in hot, sunny weather. Unlike many fruit trees that slow down during extreme heat, key lime trees continue growing vigorously as long as they receive enough sunlight and consistent watering. July's long, bright days provide exactly the conditions they love, making this one of the best citrus trees for gardeners living in warm southern states. Grow key lime in a 15-gallon plastic container filled with well-drained citrus potting mix. Plastic containers help conserve moisture during the hottest weeks of summer while providing excellent stability as the tree matures. Place it in full sun for 8 or more hours each day, and water deeply whenever the top layer of soil begins to dry. Avoid letting the roots sit in standing water, as citrus trees dislike constantly wet soil. Key lime performs best in USDA zones 9 through 11, although gardeners in cooler regions can easily grow it in containers by moving it indoors before winter arrives. This portability allows people across much of the country to enjoy fresh limes regardless of climate. One healthy tree can produce an impressive number of fruit each season. The fragrant white flowers attract pollinators, while the small, juicy limes are ready to harvest once they begin turning from deep green to pale yellow. Their bold, tangy flavor is difficult to match in the kitchen and far superior to most store-bought fruit. If you want a compact citrus tree that loves intense summer sunshine and fills your patio with fragrance while producing fresh fruit year after year, the key lime is an outstanding choice. At number 11, we have the Calamondine orange. If you're looking for a fruit tree that's as beautiful as it is productive, this little citrus tree is hard to beat. Covered with glossy evergreen leaves, fragrant white flowers, and dozens of bright orange fruits, Calamondine looks like a living decoration on a patio or balcony. But don't let its appearance fool you. It's also one of the toughest citrus trees you can grow in a container. Calamondine thrives in hot, sunny weather and continues flowering and fruiting throughout much of the year. July's intense sunshine encourages vigorous new growth while helping ripen existing fruit. Unlike some citrus trees that slow down during extreme heat, Calamondine keeps performing as long as it receives consistent watering. For the best results, plant it in a 15-gallon plastic container filled with a well-drained citrus potting mix. Plastic pots help retain moisture during long summer heat waves, while the generous root space supports years of healthy growth. Place the tree in full sun for at least 8 hours a day, and water deeply whenever the top 2 inches of soil become dry. Calamondine grows best in USDA zones 8 through 11. Gardeners in colder regions can simply move the container indoors before freezing weather arrives, making it an excellent choice for nearly every part of the country. The small fruits resemble miniature oranges, but have a pleasantly tart flavor that's somewhere between a mandarin and a lime. They're commonly used for marmalade, marinades, cocktails, homemade lemonade, and even sliced whole into drinks. A mature tree often carries flowers and ripe fruit at the same time, giving you beauty and harvests almost year-round. From the fragrant Meyer lemon to the incredibly tough Calamondine, we have seen how perfectly citrus adapts to hot container gardens. But before we break into our top 10 and explore even more heat-loving varieties, I want to hear from you. Have you ever successfully grown a fruit tree in a pot? Or is this your first time trying? Let me know down in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you are enjoying this guide to beating the summer heat, please hit that subscribe button to support the channel. Now, let's move to number 10, featuring a unique citrus fruit you can actually eat whole. At number 10, we have the kumquat. Unlike almost every other citrus fruit, kumquats are meant to be eaten whole. The sweet edible peel perfectly balances the tangy flesh inside, creating a unique flavor that's made this little fruit a favorite among home gardeners. Even better, Kumquat trees are compact, incredibly attractive, and surprisingly tolerant of intense summer heat. Varieties like Nagami and Meiwa perform exceptionally well in containers. They naturally stay smaller than most citrus trees, making them ideal for patios, decks, and apartment balconies. During July, the tree actively produces fresh growth while soaking up long hours of sunshine that help develop sweeter fruit later in the season. Choose a 15 to 20-gallon plastic container for long-term success. Plastic pots retain moisture more effectively than fabric grow bags during periods of extreme heat, while still providing enough room for the tree to mature. Use a premium citrus potting mix, position the container in full sun, and water deeply whenever the soil begins to dry below the surface. Kumquats perform best in USDA zones 8 through 11, although they're slightly more cold tolerant than many other citrus trees. In colder climates, simply move the container into a bright, protected location during winter. Once mature, the tree produces hundreds of small, golden orange fruits that often remain on the branches for weeks. They're delicious, eaten fresh, made into marmalade, candied, or added to salads and desserts. Combined with the glossy evergreen foliage and fragrant blossoms, Kumquat is one of the most rewarding container fruit trees for gardeners who want beauty, productivity, and exceptional heat tolerance in one compact package. At number 9, we have the loquat. While many fruit trees are still waking up from winter, loquat is already preparing one of the earliest fruit harvests of the year. Native to subtropical regions, this evergreen tree loves sunshine, handles summer heat with ease, and adapts surprisingly well to life in a container when grown as a dwarf or kept pruned. Loquat's large, dark green leaves also make it one of the most attractive fruit trees on this list. Even when it's not producing fruit, it gives a patio or balcony a lush, tropical appearance. During the hottest weeks of July, the tree continues building strong branches and healthy foliage that will support flowering later in the year. For container growing, choose a 20-gallon plastic container. Loquats develop a substantial root system over time, so the extra soil volume helps maintain steady moisture during hot weather. Fill the pot with fertile, well-drained potting mix. Place it in full sun for at least 6 to 8 hours daily, and water deeply whenever the top few inches of soil begin to dry. Loquats perform best in USDA zones 8 through 10. Gardeners in cooler climates can still grow them in containers by moving the tree into a protected location during periods of severe frost. A mature loquat tree rewards you with clusters of golden yellow fruit that taste like a delicious blend of peach, apricot, and citrus. The juicy flesh is perfect for fresh eating, jams, desserts, and homemade preserves. As the tree ages, harvests become larger, while requiring very little maintenance beyond occasional pruning and feeding. For gardeners who want an attractive evergreen fruit tree that thrives in hot summers and offers an early season harvest, the loquat is an outstanding choice. At number 8, we have the olive tree. If there is one fruit tree that defines resilience in extreme heat, it's the olive. Native to the Mediterranean, olive trees have spent thousands of years adapting to blazing sunshine, rocky soils, and long, dry summers. Once established, they often perform better in hot weather than in cool, damp conditions. One of the best varieties for container gardening is Arbequina. It naturally stays compact, begins producing at a relatively young age, and is highly productive despite its small size. Its elegant silver-green foliage also makes it one of the most beautiful ornamental fruit trees you can grow. For long-term success, plant your olive tree in a 20-gallon plastic container. Plastic pots provide excellent stability while allowing the soil to retain enough moisture during extended heat waves. Use a fast-draining potting mix. Place the tree in full sun for at least 8 hours each day and water deeply before allowing the soil to dry slightly between waterings. Unlike citrus trees, olives actually prefer slightly drier conditions once established. Arbequina olives grow best in USDA zones 8 through 10. Gardeners living in colder climates can successfully grow them in containers by bringing the tree indoors or into a protected space during winter. Although olives require a little patience before producing heavily, they're an investment that can reward you for decades. Mature trees develop clusters of flavorful fruit that can be cured for eating or pressed into homemade olive oil. Combined with exceptional drought tolerance and timeless Mediterranean beauty, the olive tree is one of the finest long-term container fruit trees for hot summer climates. At number 7, we have the Barbados cherry, also known as acerola. If you're looking for a fruit tree that absolutely loves heat, this tropical powerhouse deserves your attention. Unlike many fruit trees that merely tolerate high temperatures, Barbados cherry actually grows faster and produces more flowers during long, hot summers. It's also famous for producing one of the richest natural sources of vitamin C in the world. Its naturally compact growth makes it an excellent choice for container gardening. Throughout summer, the tree is covered with delicate pink flowers that quickly develop into bright red cherries. Because it flowers repeatedly during warm weather, it's common to enjoy several harvests in a single growing season. For the best results, grow Barbados cherry in a 15 to 20-gallon plastic container. Plastic pots help maintain consistent soil moisture during extreme heat while providing enough space for the roots to mature. Fill the container with rich, well-drained potting mix, place it in full sun for at least 8 hours daily, and water deeply whenever the top 2 inches of soil become dry. Regular feeding during spring and summer encourages continuous flowering. Barbados cherry grows best in USDA zones 9 through 11. Gardeners in cooler regions can still grow it successfully in containers by moving the tree indoors before frost arrives. The fruit ripens quickly from green to brilliant red and is best picked as soon as it becomes fully colored. Its sweet tart flavor is excellent fresh, but it's also perfect for smoothies, juices, jams, and desserts. Since the fruit is delicate and doesn't store well, growing your own is one of the best ways to enjoy its incredible flavor. For anyone living in a hot climate, Barbados cherry is one of the fastest producing and most rewarding fruit trees you can grow in a container. At number 6, we have the pineapple guava, also known as feijoa. This remarkable fruit tree combines beauty, toughness, and delicious fruit in one compact package. Native to the highlands of South America, it handles summer heat surprisingly well, while remaining much more cold-hardy than many tropical fruit trees. One of the first things you'll notice is its attractive silver-green foliage, which stays beautiful all year. In late spring and early summer, the tree produces striking white flowers with bright red centers. Even better, the flower petals are edible and have a sweet flavor that's often compared to marshmallows. For container growing, choose a 20-gallon plastic container. This gives the roots plenty of room while helping the soil retain moisture during long stretches of hot weather. Use well-drained potting mix. Position the tree in full sun and water deeply whenever the soil begins to dry. Once established, pineapple guava becomes fairly drought-tolerant and requires much less watering than citrus trees. It performs best in USDA zones 8 through 10, making it suitable for much of the southern and western United States. In colder regions, container-grown plants can be protected during severe winter weather. By fall, mature trees begin producing oval green fruit with a unique tropical flavor that combines hints of pineapple, guava, mint, and strawberry. Simply wait until the fruit naturally drops from the tree. That's when it's perfectly ripe. Scoop out the fragrant flesh with a spoon, or use it in smoothies, jams, desserts, and fresh fruit salads. If you want a fruit tree that's attractive every season, thrives in hot summers, and rewards you with one of the most unusual flavors you'll ever grow, pineapple guava is an outstanding choice for container gardening. We have explored some incredibly resilient, drought-tolerant survivors that can handle whatever summer throws at them. But as we officially cross into our top 5, the stakes get much higher. We are stepping into the elite class of container fruit trees. These are the absolute heavyweights, classic, juicy orchard fruits that have been genetically scaled down to fit perfectly on your patio without sacrificing a single drop of flavor. If you thought you needed a massive backyard to grow heavy, tree-ripened summer fruits, prepare to have your mind blown. Let's enter the top 5, starting with an absolute summer staple. At number 5, we have the dwarf peach. Many gardeners assume peach trees require a large backyard, but modern dwarf varieties like Bonanza and Pick Z prove otherwise. These compact trees stay small enough for containers while still producing full-sized, juicy peaches. Even better, peaches love long, sunny summers, making them an excellent choice for gardeners in hot climates. July is when a peach tree truly appreciates the heat. Plenty of sunshine helps the fruit develop better color, higher sugar content, and richer flavor. As long as the tree receives consistent watering, high temperatures are far more beneficial than harmful. For the best long-term results, plant your dwarf peach in a 20-gallon plastic container. Plastic pots provide excellent stability while helping retain moisture during extreme summer heat. Use fertile, well-drained potting mix. Position the tree in full sun for at least 8 hours a day, and water deeply whenever the top 2 inches of soil become dry. A balanced fruit tree fertilizer applied in spring will encourage healthier growth and heavier crops. Dwarf peaches perform best in USDA zones 5 through 9. Most varieties require a certain number of winter chill hours, making them well-suited to much of the United States. With proper care, one mature tree can produce dozens of sweet, fragrant peaches every summer. Fresh fruit picked directly from the tree is dramatically sweeter than most grocery store peaches and is perfect for eating fresh, baking, grilling, or making homemade cobblers and preserves. For gardeners who dream of harvesting tree-ripened peaches from a sunny patio, this compact tree delivers impressive rewards without requiring much space. At number 4, we have the dwarf nectarine. If you love peaches but prefer smooth skin and an even sweeter flavor, a dwarf nectarine may become your favorite container fruit tree. Closely related to peaches, nectarines thrive under the same hot, sunny conditions and reward gardeners with incredibly juicy fruit that's difficult to match at the supermarket. Compact varieties are perfectly suited for patios and balconies. producing impressive harvests while remaining easy to prune and maintain. During July, the tree benefits from intense sunlight, which helps the fruit develop its deep red color and rich sweetness. For container growing, choose a 20-gallon plastic container with excellent drainage. Plastic pots help the soil retain moisture during long heat waves while providing enough room for healthy root development. Fill the pot with rich, well-drained potting mix, place it in full sun, and water deeply whenever the soil begins drying below the surface. Keeping moisture consistent is especially important while the fruit is ripening. Dwarf nectarines grow best in USDA zones 5 through 9, depending on the variety. Like peaches, they require winter chill to produce reliable crops, making them an excellent choice for gardeners across much of the country. As the tree matures, you'll be rewarded with smooth-skinned fruit that's exceptionally sweet, aromatic, and bursting with juice. Fresh nectarines are wonderful eaten straight from the tree, but they're equally delicious in fruit salads, smoothies, desserts, and homemade jams. Combined with beautiful spring blossoms and excellent heat tolerance, the dwarf nectarine is one of the finest fruit trees you can grow in a container. At number 3, we have the dwarf mulberry. If your goal is to harvest as much fruit as possible from a single container, few trees can compete with a dwarf mulberry. Once established, this incredibly productive tree can produce hundreds of sweet berries every season while thriving through long, hot summers. Unlike many fruit trees that slow down during extreme heat, mulberries continue growing vigorously with very little complaint. Compact varieties, such as Girardi Dwarf, are ideal for container gardening because they remain manageable while still producing full-sized fruit. The tree grows quickly, develops an attractive rounded shape, and rewards you with harvests much sooner than many other fruit trees on this list. For the best results, plant it in a 20-gallon plastic container. Plastic pots provide enough stability for the tree while helping the soil retain moisture during hot weather. Fill the container with fertile, well-drained potting mix. Place it in full sun for at least 8 hours each day and water deeply whenever the top 2 inches of soil become dry. Once mature, mulberries become surprisingly drought-tolerant and require very little maintenance beyond occasional pruning. Dwarf mulberries perform well in USDA zones 5 through 9, making them suitable for much of the United States. They tolerate both summer heat and winter cold far better than many other fruit trees, making them an excellent long-term investment. The berries gradually change from green to red before turning deep purple or almost black when fully ripe. Their rich, sweet flavor makes them delicious fresh, but they're equally excellent for pies, jams, smoothies, and homemade desserts. Birds love them too, so harvesting regularly ensures you enjoy more of the crop yourself. For gardeners who value productivity above all else, the dwarf mulberry is one of the highest-yielding container fruit trees you can grow. At number 2, we have the jujube. If there were an award for the toughest fruit tree on this list, the jujube would almost certainly win. Native to some of the hottest and driest regions of Asia, this remarkable tree thrives where many other fruit trees fail. Blazing sunshine, triple-digit temperatures, and dry air barely slow it down, making it one of the best choices for gardeners living in hot summer climates. Popular varieties such as Li, Lang, and sugarcane remain compact enough for container growing while producing abundant crops of crisp, apple-like fruit. Once established, jujube trees are incredibly low maintenance and become more productive with age. For long-term success, grow your tree in a 20 to 25-gallon plastic container. Plastic pots provide excellent stability and help maintain consistent moisture during extended heat waves. Fill the container with well-drained potting mix, place it in full sun, and water deeply while the tree is becoming established. After that, jujubes become extremely drought-tolerant and require far less watering than citrus, peaches, or nectarines. Jujube performs best in USDA zones 6 through 10, making it suitable for a wide range of American climates. It also tolerates winter cold better than many subtropical fruit trees, adding to its reputation as one of the easiest fruit trees to grow. The fruit can be enjoyed at several stages. When freshly ripe, it's crisp, juicy, and tastes surprisingly similar to a sweet apple. As it matures further, it becomes chewy and naturally sweet like a date. Whether eaten fresh, dried, or used in teas and desserts, jujube offers exceptional versatility. For gardeners searching for a nearly carefree fruit tree that laughs at summer heat, few choices come close to this remarkable survivor. At number 1, we have dragon fruit. If there is one fruit plant that truly thrives in blazing summer heat while producing spectacular harvests in containers, it's dragon fruit. Native to the hot, dry regions of Central and South America, this climbing cactus doesn't just tolerate extreme temperatures, it actually loves them. Long, sunny days and warm summer nights encourage vigorous growth, more flowers and bigger harvests, making it the perfect choice for gardeners who think July is too hot to grow fruit. Despite its exotic appearance, dragon fruit is surprisingly easy to grow. Unlike traditional fruit trees, it has a relatively shallow root system, allowing it to flourish in containers for many years. The key is providing strong vertical support, since the thick, succulent stems naturally climb as they grow. For the best long-term results, plant dragon fruit in a 20 to 25-gallon plastic container with a sturdy trellis, wooden post, or concrete support. Plastic pots help maintain consistent moisture during hot weather while providing excellent stability as the plant becomes larger. Use a fast-draining cactus or succulent potting mix. Place the container in full sun for at least 8 hours a day and water deeply only after the soil has partially dried. Unlike many fruit trees, dragon fruit prefers slightly drier conditions rather than constantly wet roots. Dragon fruit grows best in USDA zones 9 through 11. Gardeners in cooler regions can still grow it successfully by moving the container indoors or into a greenhouse before freezing temperatures arrive. Once mature, the rewards are incredible. Huge, fragrant white flowers open for just one magical night before developing into vibrant pink fruits filled with sweet, refreshing flesh. Depending on the variety, the inside may be white, red, or deep purple. Fresh dragon fruit is delicious eaten on its own, blended into smoothies, added to fruit bowls, or used in desserts. If you're looking for a container fruit plant that's beautiful, highly productive, remarkably drought-tolerant, and perfectly suited to scorching July weather, dragon fruit easily earns the number 1 spot on this list. Before we wrap up, we need to address the ultimate secret to container fruit tree success, something experienced growers call the plastic pot paradox. Throughout this countdown, you may have noticed a strict pattern. I consistently recommended large plastic pots over fabric grow bags. That is because plastic holds moisture far better during long, dry stretches of summer, which is absolutely critical for developing plump, juicy fruit. But there is a dangerous catch. If you live in a region with relentless triple-digit heat, A dark plastic pot sitting in direct sunlight acts like a solar oven. It absorbs the thermal energy and can literally bake the roots alive, even if the top of the tree absolutely loves the sun. So here is your ultimate midsummer survival hack. You must protect the pot, not the plant. You want the leafy canopy of your tree soaking up all that glorious sunshine, but the root zone must stay cool. You can achieve this perfectly using the double potting method. Simply drop your plastic planting pot inside a slightly larger decorative planter. This creates an invisible insulating air gap between the hot sun and your soil. Alternatively, you can paint the outside of your plastic pots white to violently reflect the UV rays, or simply group smaller, bushy potted plants right in front of your fruit tree to cast a permanent cooling shadow directly over the plastic. By keeping the roots cool while letting the canopy bake in the sun, you will unlock massive, stress-free harvests that most container gardeners only dream of. That wraps up our list of the 15 best dwarf fruit trees for extreme summer heat. Which of these heat-loving varieties makes the most sense for your space? Did I leave out a tough fruit tree that you've already had success with? Let me know in the comments below, along with what gardening topics you want me to cover next. But don't go anywhere just yet, because our Container Orchard Masterclass is far from over. Right now, let's dive into the next 15 dwarf fruit trees and shrubs for container gardening in temperate climates. Let's get started. Kicking off our list at number 15 is the remarkably resilient Nagami kumquat. While it belongs to the citrus family, a group notoriously vulnerable to the cold, the kumquat possesses an astonishing level of cold hardiness, easily surviving the light frosts typical of temperate climates. This makes it a prolific production machine for your backyard, churning out brilliant orange, jewel-like fruits in notably tight spaces. To set this up for success, you will need a 10-gallon plastic container with large drainage holes. The soil composition is critical. You must blend a standard potting mix with at least 30% coarse sand and perlite to ensure rapid drainage. When the blistering winter temperatures drop deep below 20 degrees Fahrenheit, you simply drag the pot into an unheated garage until the hard freeze passes. A grafted tree will begin producing heavy yields within just 1 to 2 years, with the fruit perfectly ripening in the dead of winter. Harvest by carefully snipping the stems with micro shears once the rind turns a vibrant, glowing orange. In the culinary world, the kumquat is the only citrus fruit on Earth intended to be eaten entirely whole, offering a delightful flavor contrast between its intensely sweet skin and lip-puckering, sour juice, validating its profound health benefits. A comprehensive report published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry confirmed that the kumquat's edible rind contains a concentration of flavonoids and antioxidants exponentially higher than the internal pulp, providing robust cellular protection against premature aging. For a truly fascinating botanical fact, the kumquat survives freezing temperatures through a rare biological mechanism called deep dormancy. Unlike lemons or oranges, it completely halts all internal sap flow during the winter, protecting its vascular system from freezing and bursting, making it the premier cold weather champion of the citrus world. Coming in at number 14 is the revered cold weather icon of Japan, the yuzu citrus. Instead of struggling with fragile, frost-sensitive lemons, urban gardeners are turning to yuzu, which can effortlessly withstand plunging temperatures down to 10 degrees Fahrenheit without dying. Its highly sought-after aroma is a culinary masterpiece, offering a complex, soaring hybrid scent of Meyer lemon, sharp grapefruit, and sweet mandarin. You will need a 15-gallon plastic pot filled with a fast-draining cactus and citrus soil blend. Because the tree develops fairly large thorns, it is best positioned in a quiet corner of your garden. It can easily survive a temperate winter right on the lawn if simply wrapped in horticultural fleece. or pulled into an unheated shed. Expect a grafted tree to take 2 to 3 years to establish before it begins fruiting heavily. You harvest the fruit in early winter, exactly when the bumpy, heavily textured rind transitions to a brilliant, glowing yellow. In the culinary scene, yuzu juice is the foundational soul of authentic Japanese ponzu sauce, and its freshly grated zest is currently fetching astronomical prices at Michelin star restaurants across America. To back up its dietary value, research published in the Journal of Food Science officially confirmed that raw yuzu contains an exceptional concentration of vitamin C, nearly 3 times the amount found in a standard commercial lemon. As a fascinating cultural fact, the Japanese have an ancient winter tradition called yuzu-yu. On the coldest day of the winter solstice, people float dozens of whole, fresh yuzu fruits directly into steaming hot baths to allow the skin to absorb the volatile essential oils, naturally warding off harsh winter colds. At number 13, we have a baking cornerstone that thrives beautifully in freezing climates: the dwarf sour cherry. Completely unlike the towering sweet cherry trees, tart cherries naturally grow into a highly compact, bushy form that is exceptionally easy to manage in a backyard. They feature outstanding cold hardiness and are a non-negotiable requirement for classic American baking. For container cultivation, a 15-gallon plastic pot filled with standard, well-aerated potting soil is perfect. The definitive advantage of the dwarf tart cherry is that it is 100% self-fertile. You do not need to waste precious garden space on multiple trees. You only need to plant exactly one tree to guarantee branches bending under the weight of heavy fruit. It takes roughly 2 to 3 years for the canopy to expand and yield a substantial harvest in the middle of summer. Picking tart cherries is wonderfully easy, as the stems naturally release from the branches, much cleaner than sweet varieties when fully ripe. They are the undisputed king for baking deep dish cherry pies or cooking down into rich, vibrant jams, proving their profound medicinal value. A clinical study published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry identified that tart cherries are one of the rarest natural food sources on the planet to contain notably high, concentrated levels of pure melatonin, making them a powerful, scientifically proven dietary intervention for curing insomnia and regulating human sleep cycles. For a brilliant historical fact, the legendary American myth of a young George Washington chopping down his father's cherry tree was almost certainly referring to a sour cherry, as this was by far the most heavily cultivated and highly prized fruit tree on colonial American homesteads. Sliding into number 12 is a native North American treasure, the northern highbush blueberry. While technically classified as a woody shrub, when strategically pruned in a container, it transforms into a stunning, highly architectural miniature tree. It offers breathtaking visual appeal, transitioning from hundreds of dusty blue berries in the summer to blazing, fire-red foliage in the autumn. To grow this successfully, a 15-gallon plastic container is optimal, but the soil requirement is a matter of life and death. Blueberry roots strictly demand extreme soil acidity, requiring a pH level between 4.5 and 5.5. You must physically build a custom soil mix using a substantial amount of raw peat moss and shredded pine bark. Otherwise, the plant will rapidly turn yellow and perish. Once established, the bush will begin producing heavily within 2 to 3 years. The ultimate harvesting secret is patience. Once the berry turns seemingly blue, you must leave it on the branch for an additional 3 to 4 days to allow the internal sugars to fully peak. Eaten fresh, baked into classic morning muffins, or blended into smoothies, blueberries are a culinary staple. Validating their superfood status, an extensive neurological study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition proved that the specific anthocyanins, the deep purple-red pigments, in blueberries have the unique biological ability to physically cross the human blood-brain barrier, directly protecting neurons from oxidative stress and measurably improving memory retention. For a mind-blowing botanical reality, the blueberry does not actually contain a single drop of true blue pigment. The fruit achieves its signature color through a magnificent optical illusion. A microscopic, crystalline layer of natural epicuticular wax coating the skin physically scatters incoming light, tricking the human eye into seeing a vibrant, dusty blue, making it a breathtaking masterpiece of natural structural engineering rather than chemical pigmentation. At number 11, we are bringing quintessential Mediterranean elegance directly to your temperate garden with the Arbequina olive tree. While olive trees evoke images of sun-drenched Italy, the Arbequina variety features a distinctly compact, highly adaptable canopy that thrives perfectly in tight containers. It can easily survive temperate climates provided you simply roll the pot into a garage during active snowstorms. You will need a deep, 15-gallon plastic pot. You must line the bottom with a thick layer of coarse gravel and use a heavy sandy soil mix to guarantee instant rapid water drainage. The most critical growing secret for temperate climates is that the olive tree biologically requires a cold dormancy period, specifically around 300 hours of chilling temperatures below 50 degrees Fahrenheit, but strictly above freezing, to trigger the chemical hormones required to produce flowers in the spring. A grafted tree will yield its first olives in 2 to 3 years. You harvest in late fall when the hard green olives transition to a deep, bruised purple-black. You must never attempt to eat a raw olive directly off the tree, as it contains incredibly harsh, bitter alkaloids. The olives must be heavily brined, salt-cured, or cold-pressed into extra virgin oil. Backing up its legendary health reputation, a landmark cardiovascular report published in the New England Journal of Medicine directly linked the robust consumption of oleic acid, the primary monounsaturated fat found in olives, to a dramatic, measurable reduction in severe cardiovascular disease and heart attacks. As a mesmerizing biological fact, the olive tree possesses a resilience that borders on immortality. Even constrained in a backyard pot, if the soil is periodically refreshed, an Arbequina olive tree can live for several centuries, easily outliving the very human who originally planted it.
Before we jump into our top 10, have any of these trees made an appearance on your patio or porch yet? Or are you facing any challenges with caring for your plants? Share your stories down in the comments section below. And if you found this information helpful so far, don't forget to leave a like on the video. This really helps spread content like this to more people. Now, let's keep going.
Breaking into the top 10 is the captivating monarch of the temperate autumn, the dwarf persimmon. When the brutal winter approaches and the tree aggressively drops all of its green leaves, your potted persimmon will look like a surreal work of art, featuring large, glowing, bright orange globes hanging from completely bare, stark wooden branches. For cultivation, you need a heavy, 20-gallon plastic pot. You must specifically seek out the Fuyu variety grafted onto a dwarfing rootstock. Plant it in a rich, well-draining soil mix. The persimmon tree possesses outstanding, resilient cold hardiness and easily survives freezing temperate winters completely unprotected in the backyard. It takes roughly 3 to 4 years for the tree to fully mature and deliver high-yield harvests. You must harvest by using sharp bypass pruners to cut the fruit close to the woody stem in late autumn, exactly when the skin turns a deep, fiery orange. The standout feature of the Fuyu variety is that it is non-astringent, meaning you can slice it and eat it immediately while it is still as hard and crisp as a fresh apple. It is exceptional when sliced paper-thin into an autumn harvest salad or heavily dehydrated into chewy, sugary snacks, highlighting its profound dietary power. Clinical research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition discovered that the specific, highly complex tannin compounds found inside persimmons have the unique biological ability to physically bind to dietary fats in the digestive tract, dramatically lowering the amount of bad cholesterol absorbed into the human bloodstream. For a wild botanical fact, the wood of the persimmon tree officially belongs to the ebony family. Its dense, heavy heartwood is so exceptionally solid, black, and impact-resistant that for decades, it was the exclusive, premium material used to carve the heads of the most expensive, high-end golf clubs in the world. Coming in at number 9 is a fascinating, overlooked botanical heirloom from the European Middle Ages, the medlar. This highly peculiar fruit tree is perfectly engineered for brutally cold, freezing winter climates. It produces striking white blossoms in the spring and deeply unusual, rustic brown fruits in the autumn. You will want a standard 15-gallon plastic pot filled with a loamy, highly organic soil blend. The medlar is renowned among horticulturalists for being a remarkably rugged, fiercely independent survivor. It is 100% self-fertile and possesses such a robust natural immune system that it is practically never attacked by common garden pests. The tree requires about 3 years of growth before it yields a heavy crop. The harvesting process breaks every single rule of modern agriculture. You must intentionally leave the hard, brown fruits hanging on the bare branches well after the first freezing winter frosts hit your garden. This deliberate freezing process, known historically as bletting, is a strict requirement, as the ice physically shatters the rigid internal cell walls, allowing the fruit to soften. Once fully bletted, you literally scoop the internal flesh out with a spoon. It possesses the exact, delightful flavor and texture of rich, spiced applesauce smoothly whipped with sweet caramel butter. Proving its immense historical value, chemical analysis published in the journal Food Chemistry verified that medlar fruits are extraordinarily rich in natural iron and ascorbic acid, making them a crucial, life-saving source of vital nutrients for medieval populations surviving through the dead of a freezing, snow-covered winter. At number 8 is an ancient, highly aromatic relative of the apple and pear, the dwarf quince. Growing a quince tree in a backyard container produces substantial, heavily wrinkled, golden yellow fruits that radiate an intensely intoxicating, room-filling perfume, smelling like a warm, heavy blend of ripe pineapple, fresh guava, and vanilla. You will need a 15-gallon plastic container for this highly ornamental tree. It adapts perfectly to freezing temperate climates and prefers a rich, highly porous soil mix that retains consistent moisture without ever becoming waterlogged. The tree takes roughly 3 to 4 years to establish its root system and begin setting its weighty fruits. Harvest takes place in the very late autumn, exactly when the hard, fuzzy green skin transitions entirely to a brilliant, glowing golden yellow. You cannot eat a raw quince. The fresh flesh is as hard as solid wood and violently astringent. However, when it is slowly simmered in water and sugar, it transforms into the legendary, rich culinary paste known as membrillo, which is traditionally paired with sharp manchego cheese. Validating its ancient medicinal usage, modern dietary research published in the journal Nutrients confirms that the quince possesses a towering concentration of natural pectin and highly active phenolic compounds, which have been scientifically proven to effectively soothe, coat, and actively heal painful gastric ulcers in the human stomach. For a mesmerizing piece of culinary magic, even though the raw, internal flesh of a quince is a pale, chalky yellowish white, the moment it is slowly simmered over heat, the ample amount of internal tannins triggers a radical chemical reaction, instantly turning the entire boiling pot of fruit into a brilliant, crystal clear, deep ruby red. Sliding into number 7 is a spectacularly tough, distinctive plant, the cornelian cherry. Despite its name, it actually belongs to the resilient dogwood family. Yet it produces thousands of edible, bright red, olive-shaped fruits. It is universally celebrated as one of the earliest blooming fruit trees on Earth. exploding into a striking canopy of brilliant yellow flowers in the dead of winter, often while heavy snow is still actively falling on your lawn. A 15-gallon plastic pot is perfectly adequate. It is remarkably cold hardy, completely indifferent to poor soil conditions, and requires nothing more than consistent summer watering. Because of its intense, wild genetics, it is inherently resistant to almost all known boring insects and fungal diseases. It takes roughly 3 to 4 years of vegetative growth before it begins producing its red fruit. You must harvest in the late summer, waiting patiently until the fruit turns from bright red to a deeply bruised, dark purple-black. The fruit is fully ripe only when it physically drops from the branch at the gentlest touch. The flavor is highly acidic and sharply tart, mimicking the bright bite of a wild cranberry, making it the perfect ingredient for boiling into rich syrups or fermenting into complex, tart winter wines. To prove its medicinal heritage, advanced biochemical profiling published in Phytotherapy Research confirmed that the cornelian cherry contains a staggering level of anthocyanins that act as a remarkably potent natural anti-inflammatory agent, which explains exactly why Eastern European cultures have utilized this specific fruit to treat severe winter colds for hundreds of years. For a stunning historical fact, the heartwood of the cornelian cherry tree is so exceptionally dense, tight, and heavy that it literally sinks like a stone when thrown into water. Ancient Greek warriors specifically utilized this unbreakable wood to construct their legendary phalanx spears, and historical texts highly suggest that the infamous Trojan horse itself was built entirely from cornelian cherry timber. At number 6 is a marvel of subtropical adaptability, the pineapple guava, also scientifically known as the feijoa. While traditional tropical guavas perish at the slightest hint of frost, the feijoa is a rugged, evergreen survivor that has perfectly adapted to tolerate the freezing temperatures of Zone 8 temperate climates, and can easily be pulled into a garage in even colder regions. You will need a standard 15-gallon plastic pot filled with a sandy, highly aerated soil mix. To force the plant to produce a thick, fruit-bearing canopy in a container, you must routinely prune the top-growing tips to encourage lateral branching. It handles freezing, biting autumn winds with absolute ease. The tree reaches fruiting maturity in 2 to 3 years. The harvesting process is the most effortless experience in all of gardening. You never actually pick a feijoa. When the green, egg-shaped fruit is perfectly ripe, the tree simply drops it onto the grass of your backyard. You merely bend down, pick it up, and wait until it feels slightly soft to the touch. You slice the fruit perfectly in half and use a spoon to scoop out the gelatinous, highly fragrant pulp. The flavor is a vibrant, mouth-watering collision of ripe pineapple, sweet green apple, and a sharp, cooling finish of fresh mint. Backing up its unique nutritional profile, a comprehensive study published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology pointed out that the feijoa contains an unusually high, naturally occurring concentration of elemental iodine, a mineral that is notably rare in terrestrial fruits, but critical for maintaining healthy human thyroid function. For an absolutely mind-blowing culinary fact, you are not just growing this tree for the fruit. The thick, fleshy, bright pink and white flower petals that bloom in the spring are entirely edible, and they taste exactly like juicy clumps of sweet cotton candy soaked in raw nectar.
We are just a few steps away from our top 5. Don't take your eyes off the screen, because the number 1 spot will completely change the way you think about container gardening. Remember to hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell to keep exploring with us. Now, let's dive into the top 5 on today's list.
Breaking into the top 5 is the premier champion of backyard temperate gardening, the calamondine. This incredible citrus hybrid was biologically designed to conquer the cold. It effortlessly tolerates chilly temperate temperatures far better than standard lemons, naturally grows into a highly compact, dense, bonsai-like canopy, and relentlessly pumps out hundreds of tiny, aromatic fruits nearly year-round. A small 5 to 10 gallon plastic pot is actually the perfect size for this dwarfing tree. It requires a highly acidic, fast-draining citrus soil blend. The greatest superpower of the calamondine is that when the lethal blizzards of winter finally arrive, it is the only citrus tree that will thrive beautifully, sitting safely inside a brightly lit garden greenhouse. The growth speed is truly staggering. A grafted plant will actively begin producing heavy flushes of fruit within a single year. You can harvest the fruit at 2 completely different stages. Pick them when the rind is bright green for an aggressively sour, acidic explosion, or wait until they turn a deep, glowing orange for a slightly sweeter, highly aromatic juice. Remember to use shears to clip the stems so you do not tear the delicate rind. In the kitchen, the juice is heavily utilized to brew intensely refreshing iced teas or squeezed into fiery, chili-loaded seafood dipping sauces. Validating its superior quality, a detailed chemical analysis published in the Journal of Food Science confirmed that the specific molecular structure of vitamin C inside the calamondin is notably robust and highly stable, meaning it does not rapidly degrade or oxidize when exposed to the open air, unlike the juice of a standard commercial lemon. For a fascinating genetic reality, the calamondine is not a pure original species. It is widely believed by botanists to be a lucky, naturally occurring biological accident, a flawless, wild crossbreed between the cold, hardy kumquat and the sweet, highly juicy mandarin orange. At number 4, we have the highly coveted treasure of the temperate climate zone, the dwarf sweet cherry. Unlike tropical fruits, sweet cherries strictly demand a bitter, freezing winter to fulfill their deep biological chilling hours requirement, making them an exclusive, high-value crop for northern gardeners. Those notoriously expensive, dark red cherries you see in premium supermarkets can easily be grown right in your backyard. You must use a large 20-gallon heavy fabric grow bag to provide intense root aeration. The critical secret to success here is genetics. You must specifically purchase a self-fertile variety, like the Stella, that has been professionally grafted onto an extreme dwarfing rootstock, specifically the Gisela 5. When the green fruit finally begins to blush red in the early summer, you must aggressively wrap the entire canopy in bird netting, or local wildlife will utterly decimate your harvest in a single morning. It takes about 3 to 4 years for the tree to establish a thick trunk and yield heavy clusters. When harvesting, you must use scissors to clip the entire green stem attached to the cherry. If you pull the cherry and tear the flesh, the fruit will instantly bleed out its juices and rot within hours. Eaten raw and heavily chilled, they are an incredibly crisp, explosively sweet summer delicacy, highlighting their profound medicinal value. A groundbreaking clinical study published in the Journal of Nutrition proved that the specific dark red pigments, the anthocyanins, in sweet cherries act as a remarkably powerful, natural anti-inflammatory painkiller, literally mimicking the exact biochemical COX inhibitor mechanism found in over-the-counter ibuprofen. For a beautiful, yet tragic, botanical fact, while the exploding canopy of pink and white cherry blossoms in the spring is one of the most breathtaking sights in nature, their lifespan is brutally short. The entire glorious process, from the buds opening to the petals tearing away in the wind, lasts for a strict maximum of 14 days. Taking the bronze medal at number 3 is an indestructible powerhouse native directly to North America, the serviceberry, also widely known as the Juneberry. This phenomenal woody fruiting tree possesses an invincible resilience against the most brutal, freezing winter temperatures imaginable. It erupts into a stunning canopy of pure white flowers in the early spring and produces heavy clusters of dark berries that look exactly like blueberries, but grow on the towering branches of a tree. A 15-gallon plastic pot is perfect for cultivation. Unlike the highly demanding blueberry that requires extreme soil acidity, the serviceberry is exceptionally adaptable and thrives easily in standard, neutral pH potting soil. Because of its wild, native genetics, it possesses a robust natural immune system that effortlessly shrugs off almost all common garden pests and fungal diseases. It takes roughly 2 to 3 years for the tree to establish its canopy and push out a substantial harvest, exactly true to its alternative name. The heavy clusters of berries will explosively ripen all at once in the month of June. You harvest them the moment the berries transition from a bright, ruby red to a deeply bruised, dark purple-black. The flavor is a culinary triumph, offering the deep, jammy sweetness of a wild blueberry, perfectly blended with the rich, nutty, complex aftertaste of a crushed almond, providing solid scientific backing. A comprehensive nutritional breakdown published in the Journal of Food Science officially proved that the serviceberry completely eclipses the famous blueberry in terms of raw nutrition, containing significantly higher concentrated levels of plant-based protein, calcium, and iron. For a deeply profound historical fact, the name serviceberry actually originates from the freezing history of early American pioneers. In the 1800s, when this specific tree finally burst into white blooms, it served as the natural signal that the frozen, solid ground had thawed enough for the villagers to dig graves and hold the delayed burial services for all the pioneers who had tragically died during the harsh winter. Coming in hot at number 2 is a plant with warm Mediterranean origins that has evolved into one of the greatest northern survivors in horticultural history, the Chicago hardy fig. This specific genetic strain possesses a borderline miraculous ability to survive freezing temperatures. During a severe winter blizzard, the entire top, woody half of the tree can physically freeze solid and completely die back. Yet the heavily insulated root system inside the plastic pot will remain entirely alive, immediately shooting up thick, new fruit-bearing branches the very second spring arrives. For container cultivation, you need a substantial 20-gallon plastic pot. It is remarkably forgiving and thrives perfectly well in cheap, nutrient-poor soil. The secret to keeping it alive in a temperate climate is forcing an artificial winter. When the freezing winds arrive, you must physically drag the heavy pot into a pitch-black, unheated garage and completely withhold all water, literally suffocating the plant into a state of deep, protective dormancy. The speed of production is staggering. A rooted cutting can easily throw out its first flush of heavy figs within its very first or second year. A fig is only perfectly ripe and ready to harvest when the heavy neck of the fruit physically droops downward. The skin becomes soft, and a single drop of crystal-clear nectar bleeds out of the tiny hole at the bottom. Sliced in half, seared on a hot cast-iron skillet, and wrapped in salty prosciutto and goat cheese, it is a culinary masterpiece. Validating its dietary supremacy, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics heavily promotes the dried fig as one of the most concentrated sources of plant-based calcium on the planet, critically defending human bone density against osteoporosis. For a highly disturbing, yet fascinating biological fact, the fig is not actually a fruit. It is a syconium, a fleshy stem that has physically grown inside out, trapping thousands of microscopic flowers on the inside. Those tiny, crunchy bits you chew on are not seeds. They are the unpollinated, inward-facing flowers that have never, ever seen the light of the sun. Taking the absolute crown at number 1 is an exotically captivating masterpiece of the botanical world, the strawberry tree. This is one of the rare, broadleaf evergreen fruit trees that can successfully survive and thrive in a temperate climate. It produces substantial, perfectly round, bright red, heavily textured fruits that look exactly like giant strawberries, but they bizarrely grow hanging from the hard, woody branches of a towering tree, instantly transforming your backyard into a surreal, fairy tale landscape. To grow this successfully, you need a heavy 20-gallon plastic or fabric container. The tree demands a highly sandy, rocky soil blend that drains water instantly, mirroring its rugged coastal origins. It is notably cold hardy down to Zone 7, easily laughing off heavy autumn frost and biting, salty coastal winds. If a severe, multi-day winter blizzard strikes, simply sliding the pot into an unheated garage is more than enough protection. A grafted tree will develop a stunning, twisting trunk and begin producing heavily after 2 to 3 years. The harvesting cycle is where the true magic happens. The fruit grows incredibly slow, taking nearly 12 entire months to fully ripen. Because of this bizarre, delayed timeline, in the late autumn, the tree will simultaneously display the delicate, white, bell-shaped flowers of the new upcoming harvest right alongside the glowing red fruits of the previous year's harvest on the exact same branch. The fruit possesses a soft, dense, doughy texture with a highly complex flavor perfectly blending sweet peach and tart apricot. In European gastronomy, it is heavily boiled down into rich marmalades or commercially fermented to create a highly intoxicating, sparkling fruit wine. To back up its premium status, advanced biochemical research published in the Journal of Functional Foods confirmed that the fruit of the strawberry tree contains towering levels of raw vitamin C and arbutin, a highly potent, biologically active compound utilized in the medical field for its powerful skin brightening and anti-aging properties. For a legendary historical fact, the scientific name of the tree, unado, directly originates from a famous quote by the ancient Roman philosopher Pliny the Elder, who stated unum edo, which translates to, "I eat only one." While historians assume he meant the fruit was too tart to eat more than one, modern gardeners know the truth. If you wait patiently until the fruit turns a deeply bruised, dark red, and becomes incredibly soft to the touch, the flavor transforms into an intensely sweet, addictive nectar that makes it utterly impossible to stop eating.
That wraps up our list of the 15 ideal container-grown fruit trees for temperate climates. Which of these varieties makes the most sense for your space? Did I leave out a dwarf fruit tree that you've already had success with? Let me know in the comments below, along with what gardening topics you want me to cover next. If you found this video practical and helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more guides, and I will see you in the next video. Happy growing!